Oxygen.
Hello and welcome to the SaladCast on Saturday the 27th of December 2014. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess and Robert Kemp. And this is our special end of 14
End of 14.
It's the end of 14.
No more 14s.
No more 14s.
Henceforth, 15s only.
Tomorrow, next year is the actual future.
It's a 15 certificate.
I'm really sorry, if you're 14 years old, you need to proceed to the culling booth.
Culling booth.
So what that entails is various sort of award-type deals, including a Game of the Year announcement, which will come on so you have heard all our deliberations in a bit.
About other things.
But rather than starting with the official random section and continuing on to the official news section, we're going to skip over that. Yeah, no time for any of that. So we're moving straight on to the first thingy discussion point, or what you might term category.
Well, I think we need to talk about the usual rules of play.
Do we?
For how we do this. Yeah, well, of course we do.
Rules? Oh, right.
The normal rules are is that there's only three of us. We have day jobs, apart from Zach.
No.
And, that means we can't play every game, nor do we have a good understanding of how every game plays. So, we caveat these awards with the fact that we haven't played this list of games, and this is my 2014 games of note not played.
Most of them, in other words.
You're going to just list off about a million games?
Yeah, a million games.
Because just, caveat time. I do
You
this
don't
every
have
year.
to.
These are the games we haven't played, just so in case anyone complains, like, it's all like, hey, why don't you talk about Dark Souls? And it's like, well, because we didn't play it.
You can still mention it in an actual category rather than just listing them all now. Like, when we get to a category that it's relevant to. I expect I will, because I've just got a list of all games.
But, well, fine. Well, let me just quickly wrap. In the time we've discussed this, I could have just shouted them all off. Alright, here we go. Games we have not played. Dark Souls 2, Destiny, Divinity, Original Sin, Dragon Age Inquisition, Driveclub, Elite Dangerous, Fantasia, Music Evolved, Far Cry 4, FIFA 15, Forza Horizon 2, sort of, Freedom Planet, Geometry Wars 3, Goat Simulator, Hearthstone, Infamous Second Son, my thing just skipped, Little Big Planet 3, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, Shovel Knight, Sonic Boom, South Park, The Stick of Truth, The Crew, Trials Fusion, Watchdogs, and Wolfenstein.
There we go, a long list.
Yeah, it's a long list. It's been one of those years where there's been a lot of okay games, but...
Damn, I really wanted to play My Thing Just Skipped, but...
My thing just skipped.
Wasn't in the Steam sale.
Also, it sounded like you said Shovel of Mordor.
Shovel of Mordor.
I definitely want to play that. Oh, goodness.
That'd be a great, demake Shadow of Mordor into a Shovel Knight level. That would be great.
Shovel of Mordor.
Shovel of Mordor. I shall defeat you by digging your grave. There you go. So those are the games we probably can't talk about.
But we will. I know for a fact there's at least some of those that are going to come up in some of these categories.
To a point. There are some games where you can make judgments on.
Not very much.
Not but... have you got games we have played?
That I know of. You guys can probably add to this, but these are the ones I've assembled. Games we have played. Alien Isolation, kinda. Bayonetta 2, Broken Age, kinda.
Hey, I played Broken Age.
Half of it.
Well, whatever.
Because the second half isn't out.
Don't talk about that yet.
Yeah. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Child of Light, Civilization Beyond Earth, Crazy Taxi City Rush, Mario Kart 8, Luftrausers, Nidhogg, Planetary Annihilation, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, Swingcopters, Sunset Overdrive, for reals now, you don't even need to, that kinda doesn't apply. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, Super Time Force, Threes, Titanfall, Towerfall Ascension, and Transistor.
Yep. Games.
So,
a list of games.
And some other ones.
There may be more as we
games.
talk about them later, but yeah, that's my list. Right. Stuff we're allowed to talk about.
Now we get to a category.
Okay, so I guess the first category is the one we get out of the way, which is the Catch-Up Award. So the best game of 2013 that we happen to play this year.
Oh, I didn't put any of those.
This is the most important category.
I didn't bother to look at that page.
Man.
Let me navigate to it right now.
Because this is, in theory, the one we have the best understanding of, apart from the stuff we talked about last year. So this is the stuff we couldn't talk about last year that we can now honour. So, my list of games that we have played this year from 2013 include Bravely Default, Crimson
That's
Dragon.
a 2014 game.
Is
in this
it?
country.
Oh. Okay, 2014 game. Ignore Bravely Default then. Crimson Dragon, Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, All the Dragons, Guacamelee, Halo Spartan Assault, Max the Curse of Brotherhood, Sonic Lost World, and The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds.
Sonic Lost World, oh dear. Is that up for...
Well, no, this is like what out of that list.
Oh.
What do we think was what was the game we should really honour as being the good game from last year that we didn't get round to honouring last year?
Cool.
That we actually also played.
Also played, yeah, because now we can judge it, and we can judge it hard.
We can judge it.
So out of that list, I'm going to straight up say Crimson Dragon is the worst.
Yeah, clearly.
It's not a good game.
Sonic
is not a good game.
Also not good. I'm thinking Zelda as a surprise success for Zach.
Yeah, Zach really liked it. I would put my oar in for Guacamelee. I really bloody loved that game.
Yeah. I played a bit of that, but I never quite clicked the combat, and that was annoying me. I really liked the style of it, but I heard that you just had to click with it or whatever.
Yeah, I really got into it. I thought it was clever. There was some... It was awkward in places, and by design awkward to make it difficult. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure some of that stuff worked, especially when you're getting to the bit where enemies can appear in either world, and they can hurt you from either world, but you have to swap to their world to hurt them. Yeah. I thought that was a little clunky. And kind of, it just became difficult to see because they're just a shadow. Mm-hmm. So it became hard to tell whether they were attacking or not. Mm-hmm. But apart from that, I really loved it. I thought it was a great game. Good sense of humour. A good use of chickens. Hollow power.
Oh yeah. Well, all the best games use chickens in some kind of ingenious way.
Which is why Zelda is in there.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know how the chickens are in A Link Between Worlds. Are they just like in A Link to the Past?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
You grab them and fly around occasionally.
Oh, you can actually fly around on them?
Or not, fall slowly.
Yeah. Right, you do the hover thing.
Oh, you do the hover thing. Okay. Yeah. But... So what's the effect if you go crazy attacking chickens?
I don't know if I ever did.
Do they mob you?
There is a mini game where you basically just have to stand in this little fenced in area and evade chickens that casually fly in from all sides of the screen for a while.
Oh, okay.
Chicken.
And really fat ones that are like...
They're not actually called chickens. What are they called? Cuckoos or something?
Yeah, they're like...
Chocolates.
Yeah, you might be right. I think they might be cuckoos.
Cuckoos,
yeah. Caca! So yeah, I think that would be my pick. What's your pick? Is your pick actually Zelda, Zach? Or are you going Bravely Default? Because you put a shit ton of time.
Bravely Default is a this year game.
Yeah, so we're counting that in Game of the Year.
I count as both. I forget because the Japanese version came out a long time ago, didn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's always true.
That's how that always works.
Yeah, it's because of localization stations.
Well, I'm not seeing anything else on this list that I've particularly remembered playing this year that I didn't play in 2013.
Because Zach played them all.
Yeah, I played all the good games in 2013. There was a lot more of them in this year. This list is way better than 2014's list.
Yeah, way better games. Cool. Okay, we've got Guacamelee versus...
Zelda.
Does Zach care enough about Zelda to beat Rob's Guacamelee? Not really.
I mean, it was basically the exact same game as the old game.
No,
but does that make it any worse?
What about the new shit where you could get stuff in a different order and shit?
Or
but that wasn't that amazing.
Or the wall.
That also would kind of... I don't think that was a good idea necessarily, because it just made everything equally sort of the same.
Right. And what about the wall puzzles?
What about the wall puzzles? Did the wall puzzles work?
The wall puzzles weren't anything special. You just stick to the wall sometimes.
Right.
So you're making it sound like a good game, but not a great game.
Yeah, that's what I said at the time, wasn't it?
Sounds pretty good to me.
But then, Dan, that's how you feel about Guacamelee, right? Good game, not great game.
Yeah, pretty much. I think
so. It's just me shouting "Great game" corner for Guacamelee.
Well, I think I would probably get into it if I gave it more of a chance. I think with Guacamelee. I think, given a choice of two in front of me, I would probably play Zelda, but that's just because I'm a Zelda fan, pretty much. I like what's it called? What's the genre of Guacamelee?
Yeah, sort of Metroidvania. Except it's a terrible name, but it
I
kind
quite
of
like
fits.
Metroidvania, and I like that art and stuff. It's probably more original.
Well, yeah, it reminded me a lot like of Outland.
Yeah.
Or Outland, which I really liked prior. Bullet Hell Castlevania thing.
I guess you expect. I mean, it'd be pretty hard to screw up like a Zelda based on Link to the Past, but with a few new things.
You'd
like,
think,
you can't. I mean, I would say that was bound to be good, whereas Guacamelee is a bit more kind of.
Well, it came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Exactly.
Really? It's like I forget. I don't think, or I don't know of what else that team has done to the point where I can't remember what team was behind it. But
so I'm cool. We're going with Guacamelee.
Guacamelee, the 2013 game of 2014.
Oh yeah.
I should point out I specifically played the Super Hyper Turbo Championship Edition.
Swiper Turbo.
Which is available on Xbox One. So, we then come to the Best Trailer of the Year award.
Best trailer.
Best trailer. And this could be any... And when I say trailer, I mean sort of pretty much any promotional material.
Including all the E3 stuff.
Yeah.
Do we also have a category for, worst trailer?
We can do, if you have some entries. I
was just thinking about the Destiny one.
Oh, the Destiny one is pretty bad.
Yeah, okay, that wins.
Yeah, worst trailer of the year, Destiny, for being really not representative of the game.
Of the game at all. Also, using an awesome piece of licensed music in a really terrible way.
Yeah.
Didn't they use Immigrant Song?
Yeah, they did.
How did they screw that up?
It's like...
Amazing.
I think it's almost like the marketing department for that game looked at the Call of Duty marketing and thought, well, we can do that in our...
We have the money.
In our Dinklage Fest, can't we? It's...
Fucking Dinklage. No, I mean, I like Dinklage in Game of Thrones, but...
Yes, but he's... Yeah, we'll come to him.
Anyway.
We'll come back to him.
Yeah, clearly.
Trailers, I'm trying to think. I enjoyed, in general, just the feel and of a whole range of trailers for that Alien Isolation. They did.
Yeah, those were good, actually.
They were cool. All the behind-the-scenes stuff on that was really nicely put together and cool.
I've forgotten about those.
I watched all of those and they were all good. I liked seeing the Creative Assembly logo come up in the kind of crazy old-style computer stuff. And
little CRT, flickery style.
Yeah, that stuff was cool.
Bit of video edge to it.
Old
VCR. Bad tracking.
Yep, the classic.
So I've got down any of the Smash Brothers reveals.
Yeah.
Because some of those
are okay, yeah.
Oh shit, the Zelda trailer with the...
okay, that was pretty clever,
pretty
actually,
good.
because it was just, the background, and then they triggered something, and then, I don't know, the trailer just sort of started on the screen they had.
That was cool.
That was quite well done, yeah. I actually quite liked the long version of the FIFA 15 trailer, with the dudes wearing the sort of weird game helmets, or what it made it look like the game helmets, where they're actually acting out what's going on. And then it gets, later on, as it gets more and more intense, they're doing what their football moves were in the living room to occasional hilarious effect of bits of furniture flying everywhere and dudes getting mashed into walls. And and then of course that then ends in the super cheesy shot of Messi doing a ridiculous kick, but naturally. But I thought it was, for a football ad, it was actually all right. So I suppose it requires mention for being a semi-decent football ad. I don't know. And I thought of I didn't add it to my list, but I remembered Overwatch.
Oh, that was great.
Because, man, that's a great trailer.
Yeah, I really like that. Have you seen the website for that's quite nice. It's got a cool parallax effect.
Yeah.
So general Firewatch. Overwatch. Yeah.
Overwatch. Well, League of Legends had a good one as well, who I think was made by the same animation team.
Oh, sorry, I just got confused. I was thinking of something else.
Oh, did you?
I was thinking of the indie game Firewatch, who had a really good trailer.
I don't know.
I really like the trailer for that. So that would be a pick of mine. Sorry, the Overwatch trailer was really good.
I don't remember the Firewatch one.
Yeah, it's
It was the Crawl trailer this year, because that was pretty good.
Crawl? It probably was, yeah. Didn't see that, though. Take me through the Crawl trailer.
Well, it's basically a narrate, because the game, well, I might have to slightly describe the game, because it's a game where it's like a dungeon crawler thing, only it's like an action one.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's multiplayer, so one person is playing the hero, and then the other people are controlling the enemies, basically.
Okay.
But if you kill the hero, you take over the hero role, so you're constantly battling for control of the hero, and then whoever's the hero at the end wins, basically.
Oh, interesting.
So then the trailer is some gameplay, but then there's a narration from the perspective of a disembodied spirit who's been sitting in this tomb waiting for his chance to become the hero, and then he takes control of all the traps and shit and kills them.
Fair enough.
And it has crazy 8-bit glitchiness to it, it distorts and stuff, which just makes it cooler.
You know what that reminds me of? This isn't going to take worst trailer, because obviously worst trailer is going to be Destiny.
Yeah.
But do you remember the Fable trailer at E3? Not with that stupid where one guy the asymmetric multiplayer.
I don't remember enough about the trailer. I just remember the stuff that actually happened when they played it. It was terrible.
It was the character vocals that were just the worst.
Yeah.
Over British stuff. But yeah, it was bad.
I wish you wouldn't do that over British stuff. It's really weird.
Too British.
Yeah, I don't remember any other particular trailers of interest.
Well,
I want to give it to Overwatch, I think, because that's a classy trailer.
The game isn't out yet, though.
No, but it's just trailers. It doesn't matter. It's just trailers.
That doesn't matter.
It's not a game of 2014.
I finally saw some Overwatch gameplay. It's just TF2. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Still,
but it looks pretty great.
Yeah, it's a pretty slick trailer.
Have any of the TF2 videos been great? I mean, the bread thing was okay.
That was okay.
Yeah, that was alright. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's definitely worth it. It's hard to call those trailers in a weird way.
I mean, the game's been out forever, so it's like they're not really promoting the game. It's as such.
Excuse me. It just
unless you count that as like promotion for like Source Filmmaker.
I guess. Yeah. I'm thinking Overwatch.
Yep.
What does everyone else think? What do you think, Zach?
Well, there's not much choices, really, is there?
Overwatch! Best trailer of 2014!
Did quite like the Firewatch one as well. So
I need to watch that.
Destiny, worst trailer of 2014.
Yep, Destiny, worst trailer of 2014. Guaranteed.
Well, we've covered the best of the worst. Now what?
Yep.
Do that for every category.
The classy award. The best game hasn't really come out yet of 2014.
Yep, and surprisingly, I've got 4 nominations.
Oh, I've got 3.
Yeah.
I've got 3.
Well, you've covered the main ones then.
Yep, so Kerbal Space Program, who news entered beta.
Sort of, arguably.
Yeah. Beta than ever.
Yep.
As it's called. Starbound.
Yep.
Prison Architect.
Yep.
And what's your 4th?
Space Engineers.
Oh yeah, of course, Space Engineers.
So yeah, so Kerbal Space Program is going to win, but we should probably discuss the other ones.
it can't win. It won last year, I'm sure.
But it's still the best game that isn't out by a million miles.
Yeah.
Out of those 4, like how does it compete? That's the thing. It's just
and you know, Kerbal has still been getting better this year as well.
But then
with them making it towards the beta with their fancy actual gameplay, I guess, where you actually build up the space center now. Mm-hmm. So that's why they made the buildings destructible, so you can upgrade them. So you start with shittier buildings, then you gradually build up the space center. Which I haven't actually played it yet, but I think that's maybe another case of, like I said about the destructible buildings, that may be another case of that it not actually being a fun system in any way.
Yeah.
Where it's just like even more unnecessary limitations on you in an already quite tricky thing.
So you're the only one here that's actually played any of these.
Yeah.
So it's like, although I probably should have got some time in with Prison Architect because I do actually have a copy of it. But you've been talking quite a lot about Prison Architect this year and how you see a lot of potential in it. But
we talk a lot about Space Engineers.
Well, yes, we're going to talk about them all.
Well, I didn't necessarily. Well, my thing against Space Engineers is it's a bit too. I don't know. As clever as it is, it's a bit too Minecrafty, and it doesn't sound like it's like there's enough of it there yet.
Well, yeah, it is kind of really just a sandbox. It's barely arguably even worth playing out of creative mode. I mean, you can, and it's sort of interesting in some ways to actually have limitations on what you can build and like have to harvest the resources. But the trouble is that's not really, there's not much to it. You just point a mining drill at a rock, and then you get some resources. So yeah, the only reason that Space Engineers is a good game that hasn't come out yet is for their fairly amazing consistency in their update schedule, where they've managed to put a patch out every Thursday. which
is definitely commendable.
They're agile.
Yeah. They're doing agile and the most agile. They're actually delivering on it, which is rare.
Sprints.
Yeah. And then Prison Architect is like they do their patches like monthly, and it has been steadily getting better. But it's in Prison Architect's case, it's still a lot of bug fixing. Still, really not really any more particularly amazing bits of content.
No features,
or not even really bug fixing. It's like readjusting the systems to make them work better. Like the last couple of patches where they've been doing it so that you can. The thing that I complained about one time on the podcast when we were talking about it, of like they added it so that the game calculates demand of food in a canteen and then assigns it to a kitchen, and then you can adjust it if you want to have certain kitchens do certain canteens or whatever.
Wasn't there like a food teleportation bug?
Yeah, that was how they originally tried to fix that.
Right.
But it was exploitable because they were dumb and didn't imagine that food just teleporting wasn't going to be hella exploitable. So yeah, and then Starbound is not the best because
it hasn't really changed much.
Well, basically they've been it's been a whole big issue that everyone is just bitching about constantly on their forums and whatnot, of like their update schedule has just been fucked, because they basically like way ages ago, like probably last year, they just basically, after several huge piles of bitching, they were like, okay, we're not ever going to say a date on anything we do ever again. So updates will happen at some point. We're not going to commit to any dates. And then shortly after that, they came up with the plan of, well, we'll basically allow you to have nightly builds go out. So if you toggle it in Steam, you can go onto the nightly build version where it is literally just whatever they've committed at the end of the day.
Which then might not work.
Yeah, which might not work at all or very well. And that's been what they've been doing for the vast majority of this year, is just these nightly things. And it's like, I don't want to play the broken shit. I want to play the slightly less broken shit. I mean, it's still a beta, so it's still going to be broken. But come on, an actual update. And like, so just in December, they finally announced, we're basically packaging up everything we've been working on for pretty much an entire year into one update that may reach the stable branch at some point in January. Right. Maybe, but we're not committing to that in any way. So yeah, it's
Gerbil
happening. Starbound is still happening.
It's on its way.
How long do you reckon it'll be till it's
God only knows. It's pretty good. The actual update that they are, this whole year's worth of work has actually changed it significantly if you've only been looking at the last stable update. Like the whole balance of combat and the way the actual combat works in some ways as well. Which is kind of nice. And they've started putting in actual progression. Like actual missions.
Well, that helps.
So yeah, obviously it's Kerbal though.
Yeah, it's Kerbal. So the winner of
the best game that hasn't really come out yet
is Slaves of Armok 2 Dwarf Fortress. No, wait.
Also that.
Is Goddess. No, wait. It's Kerbal Space Program.
I haven't played Dwarf Fortress for probably the entire year because there still hasn't been the update I am waiting for. It's been too many adventure updates and not enough dwarf updates.
Yeah.
It's words to live by. Not enough dwarf updates.
Yeah.
Most swear-inducing game of 2014.
Oh, have you just listed all the multiplayer first-person shooters you've been playing?
Pretty much, yeah.
How many of those came out this year?
I've got Call of Duty and Titanfall that I've been in. Because Plants vs. Zombies, not that swear-inducing. It's hard to be mad at that game.
Okay.
Although I would add, honorary mention to me playing Batman Arkham City, because, man, some of the combat on there is a fuck if you're trying to do, perfect runs or whatever on challenge mode, and it's...
Yeah.
So I've sworn quite a lot of that. But it doesn't count, so...
Not out this year.
So, it's hard to really say anything other for either of those two games that it's just because they're both Call of Duty style shooters, and occasionally they're a bit too fast for their own making. I mean, Titanfall actually is more swear-inducing than COD, I think, because of all the bloody connectivity issues I've had with it. Yes. And still have with it. Really annoying. It just doesn't like my router. It's gotta be. It just doesn't like my router.
Been playing anything that's been annoying you, Zeg?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm looking at the list of stuff which actually came out this year. I can't think of any. I mean, for Rob, I was thinking, how annoyed were you at Luftrausers?
I could get pretty annoyed at Luftrausers. Yeah, just because the targets are so hard in that game.
But yeah, apart from that, can't really see anything else. Or Super Time Force, I'm sure.
The Super Time Force wasn't so bad, actually. I more enjoyed my time than not with that. It's a pretty good game. Did I even list that earlier, Super Time Force, as a game we played this year? I did. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yep, that's pretty much it. I didn't see anything on here that extremely annoyed me.
Don't really care.
Dan was not infused.
I'm going to give it to Titanfall then.
I try and avoid the games that make me swear. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Titanfall. Normally
there's more enjoyment in them than the swearing, naturally, but when they go wrong, they all go badly. They go really badly. Just to tell you. So Titanfall, my swear-inducing game of the year, not just because it plays a lot like COD, but because it also has connectivity issues for me. And a few other people on the forums, to which there was no real good answer, other than probably don't use a Technicolor router, I guess. That's anecdotal evidence on my part. Top tip. That might be one of my missions for next year. Buy a new bloody router. dumbest thing of 2014.
I see your first entry. That has to be a runaway winner, surely.
Yeah, I put Gamergate.
Yeah,
or anything to do with all that misogyny.
We won't talk about Gamergate other than it was a dumb thing.
A really dumb thing. But does it really...
Why do you say feminism like that? Like it's like you said with equal disdain. You said misogyny and feminism. Like both, we're totally at odds with each other. And yeah, you're like, oh, it's all bollocks.
It sort of is, isn't it? It's like they're both like it's the fact that like the extremes of either side of the argument battling against each other as the internet does.
Shoplifting.
It's about ethics and gaming journalism.
Well, exactly. This is part of the problem of Gamergate, in that it was just so all over the place in what its message was and what was even everyone was arguing about.
Yeah,
pretty dumb.
Dumbest thing Tom would actually like.
Yeah.
Oh, my battery's running out.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It's going to be helpful.
Did you know, in the spirit of feminism, not really, and social justice, that if you want to be super politically correct, which is what it's about not saying things that make people feel bad or not being nasty to people, and giving everyone equal. One of those things is don't use like words that that mean like slurs, etc.
Okay, sure.
That if you want to take that to extreme and not like use words that are potentially offensive to disabled people,
right?
Okay, you know what dumb means, right?
Okay, sure.
So you can't say dumb because dumb. You're equating a bad thing with someone who can't speak, not of their own fault. Two different meanings
of the same word.
But there isn't. It means literally that's where it comes from, right?
You don't go to see lame. You don't go to see Dumb and Dumber and expect it to be person that can't speak and person that can speak less.
No, but the words come from, like, the meaning of bad comes from the disability, same as lame or something like that.
Sure, but it's the same.
It's like, that's lame.
But that's the same logic that the word retard isn't so bad to Americans as it is to us. You know, we consider that much worse than they do, whereas to them it's just sort of a dumb thing. Or it means sort of
but it's just as bad.
It means the word disabled to them, but to us it means it a lot worse. It's considered a slur to us, but not to Americans.
Yeah, but that's only through, like...
In the same extension, you can say that dumb
is so much.
Dumb may be a slur to people that can't speak. I don't know.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
But is it, though? I don't think it is. I think people that can't speak don't consider the word dumb as being an insult against them.
How would you know?
Because I've never heard of that.
This conversation, dumbest thing of the year.
You know what I mean? That's why you have to be careful about what you say.
But then, like, that would be... No one on the news could ever say it. No one on the TV could ever say it.
No one does say dumb to me that on the news. No, they don't say this is dumb. Yeah, I don't think it wouldn't be allowed.
You wouldn't have like an interview with someone and they'd say dumb, don't they? Like people would get interviewed as things. Perhaps not
people getting interviewed that can say all kinds of dumb shit.
But then there's never a furore about it because it's not a problem.
It's because it's like a treadmill. That's what they call it. Like a euphemism treadmill where things get like...
Everything gets watered down, admittedly, but they get watered down for good reason, because taking offence... I have always thought that the ability to take offence at certain words, to the extreme that people do, is a little nuts. Because, sure, they may necessarily have a better word, but like a lot of people don't... To get so repulsed by a word, just I do not understand, and have never understood.
There's a weird distinction where, like...
Insulting, yes. To be absolutely, like, brought to the point where I need to write in about every little thing that you say and create a movement against stalking people and harassment and stuff. Like, what the fuck are you doing with your lives? It's like, there are more important things to worry about than frickin' words.
Not really.
What?
Words are literally the most important thing, because it's just another way of sending messages.
It's communication. Isn't it?
If it was talking, it would be equally as bad. It's just that now we read everything on the internet instead of hearing it for our ears.
It's true. Like everything else.
But then that's the point, isn't it? You shouldn't be so obsessed with the result of miscommunication because it happens all the goddamn time.
When it's actually miscommunication, yeah, but
you should always take something as someone saying like, "Oh, okay." I always take the attitude of, "Oh, they probably mean this, right?"
Yeah,
and and if they actually then explain themselves and they do mean the terrible thing, fine. But if they're just language is so I don't know mangleable and malleable that it's just as I prove on a daily basis. It's like
That's just, we still haven't overcome the first problem of the internet of no one can actually infer anything. And people deliberately infer the opposite thing a lot of the time just because.
Exactly. Well, you can read it.
It's not really.
You read it in a tone that is always the worst, don't you? Like.
Well, yeah. You assume that random assholes on the internet are in fact random assholes.
Yeah. Yeah. But
anyway, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's all about fucking game.
But is that dumber than the FF7 not reveal?
Oh, okay.
Because that was pretty dumb.
You come up with another one, have you?
I don't think it really competes with that whole massive dumbness. Anything else?
It was a pretty stupid decision to make, though, wasn't it? Hey guys, you remember FF7?
Well, the Final Fantasy
big hype, re-release.
The Final Fantasy 7 thing was more dumb because of Vibravin. Where it's like people thought that they finally understood that we want good things, but not just the good thing from up before,
but the good thing that was never released in America.
Exactly.
Is the thing.
We want Final Fantasy VII, maybe a retranslation. That would be sufficient.
Did they even retranslate the port?
No,
from last
of course
year?
not.
Well, excuse me, but yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty dumb.
Not stocking up on enough for the GameCube adapters. That was dumb.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb.
Oh man, yeah. How did I forget that?
That's more like most disappointment, though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Gamergate in general is dumb.
Gamergate.
Next.
You see, even you've said it now.
No, I know, I did. I'd totally say, because that is definitely,
It's the very definition of not dumb.
It's like...
the literal definition.
It's like my favourite is the word Burke, which is in Harry Potter books quite a lot. Ron is always calling people you Burke.
Yeah.
And Burke is Cockney rhyming slang for, like, Berkshire Hunt.
Yep.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that I didn't know. Well, that's okay. But then, Burke, yeah, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. But that's fine, I'm okay with all variants of that word anyway, so...
Yeah, let's just pickle Harry Potter with the C word.
Yeah, it'd be much better. I think I'd enjoy it a lot more.
Oh. Moving on. See, I told you that would be what I'd mostly be saying.
Most surprise, as in the thing, not the best, not to be confused with best surprise.
We do both these categories again.
Well, we split it before because the definition is different, in that most surprise is the thing that literally caught us off guard, regardless of its quality. Or, the positive effect, I suppose. Whereas that's what best surprise is for. Like, what was the thing that we didn't expect, but made us smile the most.
Okay.
And you could also argue that disappointing is the exact opposite of that, and that it's pretty much worst surprise. So technically there's 3 here, I suppose. But I've got as most surprise the fact that Microsoft decided to drop the Kinect after making such a big deal of not dropping it.
That wasn't a surprise. By the time they did it, it wasn't a surprise at all.
They were moving
it took fucking forever.
No, but they did. There was no clue that they were going to do that up to the day that they did that. They had been saying, like, steadfastly, right up to the point that they said, we're not putting it in the box, that Kinect was an integral part of the system.
I don't think they had, though. I think they'd sort of given up saying anything through that whole process as they gradually backpedaled on everything that they said.
Prior to E3 that announcement came out, right? So there wouldn't have been really any time for them to do much talking about it, right?
They were turning their big battleship around all the way. They were like halfway through. It was just completion of the turn, the 180-degree turn. Turn. Because they basically had to do it because of numbers, right?
They wanted to get the price down.
And it worked, so.
It has been working, but...
I wasn't too surprised.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's so much.
I was basically waiting for it to happen.
So many people and so many, like, I don't know, journalists and stuff, including me, were just like, seriously, what? They did that? But that's...
Yeah. I was much more surprised by their initial, like, DRM backpedaling shit. The previous time, yeah.
That was the opposite for me. I didn't think they... that one I can sort of understand because it all happened prior to release, and it's like, that's a different battlefield, I suppose.
I guess I'm surprised by the fact you can't really buy a Kinect or an Xbox with a Kinect anymore.
Yeah,
that's quite weird.
That is more weird. Finding the Kinect versions is harder.
Yeah,
because none of the bundles come with Kinect.
No.
They haven't done bundled versions with Kinect.
No, because it's too expensive.
Yeah,
no one will buy it. Which is why they had to get.
Well, that's what they should do. The bundles of they should still bundle a game in, so it's a cheaper way of getting the Kinect. But
well, they ain't got no Kinect games to bundle in because none of them exist. So
no, but it's still the Xbox is still a better thing for having Kinect as to not having it. I prefer it being there.
Yeah, sure. Surprises. I was kind of. I mean, I guess it made sense, but I was kind of surprised that they put first person into Grand Theft Auto.
Well, I guess
that was cool.
It's not a bad one.
That might be more of a best surprise, though.
Yeah, that might be a best surprise. What's most surprise is just like I don't understand what most surprise is.
No, it's one of our dumb categories that we had to make up one time.
Okay, sure. Oh, we'll drop that.
I guess most surprise might be the fact that the EVE Online patches where they switched to a 6-week schedule haven't all been broken. They've actually managed to do patches on a 6-week schedule and they've all actually worked and come out on time and not broken everything as soon as they did. Although they have hilariously backpedaled on one of the recent patches. Or not really backpedaled. It wasn't a bug, it was just like they introduced a feature and then like 2 patches later were like, we're taking that back out. Wasn't actually a good idea.
I was sort of surprised that they were remastering Grim Fandango after no one played it.
Oh man, but have you seen what it actually is? It's not.
It's the same game.
Yeah, well, they haven't even re-rendered like the backdrops and stuff. By the sounds of it,
it's the original assets, but that they found in high quality. I think.
Yeah, but it's not like full HD quality. Is the thing. It's like because the game ran at like 640, 480, didn't it before or something akin to that, or slightly higher. But it's not. It's not HD.
No.
So it's. Which I think is a bit of a shame, because I think when everyone said, I thought, or I read into it, that if they were remaking it and redoing it, that they would do it completely, because, as you say, the assets are probably a bit too old to just bring forward.
Yeah, the artwork still, it still holds up, I think. I think it'll be good. It'll be good to have it in a state that's like playable in the modern day.
I sort of agree with you. The fact that they were remaking it is a pretty good surprise, but then where that's then ended up, I think is less good.
Yeah.
It hasn't. But I suppose that moment where they said, "Hey, Grim Fandango," and we're like, "Woo!"
Yeah. Well, I don't think that there was much they could do because it would have been a nightmare to redoing all the art and stuff, and it wouldn't have. Like, I have issues with a lot of the like, for example, I saw some stuff about you know the Halo 2 redo or whatever.
Sure.
I saw some like comparison screenshots. Of course, you can just press a button and switch between.
Yeah, you can do it.
And I was like, okay, they've done a really good job with this. But then there were also some comparisons of Halo 1 Legacy, whatever the fuck it's called. What's it called? Anniversary versus the original Halo. And I was like, now here they've kind of, in several places, they've kind of lost the spirit of it by making weird changes to the models and stuff.
Yeah, I can
a lot
see
more
that,
than in
maybe.
2. And I was like, well, I don't know. Sometimes it looked better in 1. In many cases, I felt, arguably. So I'm like, reinterpreting. I mean, Grim Fandango, all the background art is like literally art, and just reinterpreting it.
I mean, the re-releases of that type that I would have thought would be something like for good old games or something. Or, just release it as it was in its old form, but make it so it works on modern PCs, that kind of stuff. Going to this effort and having Sony reveal it at a press conference, you expect a little more than that, right?
I guess. Anyway,
but then
at the time, at the time, I guess the fact that they just announced it, like that was a cool, surprising moment. No one saw that coming. So I've got down as best surprises of Plants vs Zombies actually being good.
Yep, that was fairly surprising.
I sort of hoped, but I honestly didn't believe, I guess, until I actually played it, and it's like, oh, holy shit, they've actually delivered. The existence of Overwatch, and being as far along as it looks.
Yeah. They had to be cooking up something all this time.
That's pretty much all I got. It's not been a very surprising year.
Well, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
Well, how about Nintendo having a really damn good E3? Because, they talked about a lot of decent stuff. Star Fox, man, Star Fox.
That was very anything.
No, but I don't care. It's like the fact that it exists is awesome.
A, that wasn't very much, and B, that wasn't exactly that surprising either, because it's been so, every year. It's not a surprise if every year you're waiting for them to do it. But, it's like when F-Zero comes back, that won't actually be a surprise.
But Star Fox is one of those really... Yeah, it would. Because both Star Fox and F-Zero are so underutilised franchises.
Yes, but Nintendo only makes remakes, so it's guaranteed to happen eventually.
But it's not a remake. That's the thing.
You know what I mean. Re-releases, not re-releases. Games based on the same game.
On the same franchise.
But, combined with everything else they were showing, you thought that, I don't know, maybe when they said the new Zelda, that maybe, okay, that's next year sewn up then. And then they're like, well, no, we've got Star Fox. And then, holy shit, Splatoon wasn't announced this year, so that doesn't count. I think it came up before, but holy crap, Splatoon. Oh, or was it? I can't remember.
I don't know.
But holy crap, Splatoon. It's that's a great looking game. I'm excited for that. What they didn't really put a foot wrong this year, Ninty, really.
But they rarely
and that's
do.
Sort of surprising.
They rarely do. And now that they don't have a stage show
they
anymore,
don't
have as much opportunity to do stupid things like try and play games on stage and inevitably have it screw up.
Well, no, I think Ninty do put feet wrong, because in previous years they just haven't had a lot to show, and then they've had a long show with nothing in it. Even in their online things, it just feels like there's been a relatively long show with nothing in it. And I don't feel that was the case this year. They actually had stuff to say. And it's been great.
They had stuff to say, and then they spent half an hour just talking about how Yoshi controls.
True. I'm not saying they've got it 100% right. I mean, yeah, they spent way too much time on Woolly World. And maybe a little bit too much time on Clay Kirby as well, but...
Yeah.
But stuff. Come on, man, stuff. Get hype. What's the biggest surprise?
I don't know. I don't think I can count your Plants vs. Zombies, because I mean, that may be a surprise, but I think that belongs in higher categories, that discussion.
Fair enough.
Of the goodness of that game, including possibly the top category. Yeah, I don't know. I like my Grand Theft Auto one, of course. That actually surprised me.
Well, none of us have actually played it, so it depends whether or not that's actually any good.
Well, no, it doesn't, because it's the surprise itself we're judging, not the actual thing.
Sure, but I'm
yes, but this is always the best surprise, so it has to be good.
Right.
It can't turn out to be terrible.
It'd be good for me.
I mean, I'm on the fence about whether that'll actually be a good way to play it and stuff like that. So it's I'm not sure that really.
Okay.
It's surprising. Don't get me wrong. It's very surprising.
Most surprised then.
It's
bring it back. Most surprised.
Okay,
yeah,
so fine. Most surprised. I'm happy with that. Most surprised. First person mode in GTA.
GTA. Woo!
Well, then best surprise something else.
Overwatch, probably.
I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Because, again, came out of nowhere. The fact that it came from that cancelled...
Although technically we don't know whether that's good or not yet either.
We've seen gameplay of that. It looks like TF2.
Which, Blizzard don't release crap.
Yeah.
They never release crap. Apart from the auction
house. They won't release things
that
we don't like as much, like StarCraft. I mean, that's inherently a good game. It's just not something we like that much.
Maybe.
But as it stands, best surprise of the year, Overwatch.
I highly doubt that you guys will avoid play. I think you'll both will play that.
Yeah, I really
even if it's just a break from TF2. Right.
I really want to try it. Yeah. Most disappointing thing of 2014.
Sonic Boom. You can't be disappointed by that.
Oh, come on. The transition of our opinion of that game over this year has been interesting, because at the start of the year, here's us going, Big Red Button Games, okay, or whatever it is.
We didn't really know about
Western,
we were
Western developer, ex-Naughty Dog guys. Initial trailers looked pretty good.
But even from the start, I was like, it's just going to be like the other Naughty Dog games. It's going to be a dumb action platformer. And it turned out to be the case.
Yeah, we had that suspicion. But, at first... You could say this is as all the hallmarks of being good, right? Because it's not Sonic Team. It's not.
Not being Sonic Team isn't necessarily a good thing, I don't think.
And then I'll admit the trickle of stuff after that started making it. Everything started going downhill from that initial reveal.
It's like this only gets to be most disappointing because it's so bad. Whereas even stuff like the frame rate being terrible.
Well, I mean, it's not even a Sonic game that Sonic fans could appreciate. I mean, and that's saying a lot because a lot of Sonic fans, like myself, would at least put up with games like Sonic Lost World.
Yeah.
And see the good in them, or see the good that could have been. In this, there is none of that. I don't see it. Having not played it, well, we did sort of. Well, we didn't play it, did we? But we saw it in action. Even before it came out, and even then we were like, "Oh no, this looks bad. Oh dear, what's happened here?" Mm-hmm. It's just that it's so bad.
Yeah,
so bad. So I have a list. I've got Watchdogs on here.
Watchdogs.
What's those dogs?
I never held out much hope for Watchdogs personally, but a lot of people were into it.
Yeah, I thought it could have shaken up the Assassin's Creed model enough to be a good thing, to be a really good thing.
Yeah,
but it sort of didn't. It sort of ended up moving into the murky area of generic open world game, which then by extension, which might also be something we could add to this category of Ubisoft games. Mm-hmm. Which have just become generic, murky, shitty open world games in general. Mm. With the exception of Far Cry 4, which is apparently amazing.
Well, it's 3
because it's Far Cry 3,
cool.
yeah.
Far Cry 3 was amazing. Man, that must have been a contender for Game of the Year last year. That was really good.
Good contender for a lot of people this year, by the sounds of it.
What, 4?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Destiny!
Yeah.
Because that game was nothing like I imagined it was going to be.
No, I pretty much... That wins it for me, I think, Destiny.
Yeah. Because the only reason I want to play that game is to see what the fuck everyone's talking about, as opposed to actually wanting to play it for what it is. I think
you'd probably have fun with it.
Yeah, I reckon I would, but it wouldn't be the game I wanted.
No way.
And it's just they hyped it so much.
I don't think, even if they did overpromise it, but even so, I don't think it's as good as a Halo game, for example.
No.
So
it's that end game grind just doesn't sound that appealing.
Just that,
unless you have a group of people that are really into it, and I'm not going to get that from you. Let's face that. It's
the world building and the lore stuff just seems really crappy and boring.
Well, it's the same problem they had since Halo 3, where a lot of that stuff happened out of the game.
Yeah,
they really screwed that up in Halo 4, but that wasn't Bungie. But
yeah, I thought Reach was alright. It wasn't the best lore or whatever, but they did some nice stuff.
Yeah,
they've
been sort of skirting around having it in the game for a while, though.
But yeah, Destiny, I don't know. I thought it was going to be more, from the initial concept art, I thought it was going to be more harder sci-fi than Halo. Yeah. But it totally wasn't.
It's things like the mission design, the lack of story and what ends up happening during the story. Basically go here, do this thing, deploy Dinklage, wait for him to do something, in the meantime defend.
Zombies,
and it sounds like it's that over and over again.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
And it's that's not inventive. That's not clever.
Yeah.
I get their vision. Don't get me wrong. I get what they're trying to do, but by all accounts, it doesn't sound like they've got there.
Mm.
I thought of another thing for going back a category. Another thing for potentially best surprise, which is sort of, because we have done an all podcast. This is sort of news, I guess. But also, this may also come up later if we have a best apology category, but the fact that they're actually
we really should actually,
where they're actually redoing ODST into the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
They are. Yeah,
I didn't know that. How? What, for free?
If those played it during the fucked up period,
which it might actually still be
over now, I think.
Can you pay to get it?
I should have just turned my copy.
Yeah, you should have exactly.
I
think it was up until the 18th of December or something. Everyone who had activated
it'll be DLC. Essentially, the whole ODST will be DLC.
That's nice, very nice.
It's great.
So yeah, that's sort of best surprise, best apology.
Really freaking depressing that the best reason to own an Xbox One that actually tempts me is a whole load of old Halo games. But anyway,
most disappointing.
Anyway,
is that your most disappointing year 2014? The Xbox One's software lineup, because I thought it's been a good year generally.
Most disappointing is clearly Nintendo not making enough of GameCube adapters. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yes, that is.
Especially because that seemed like a really good thing at the time.
Yeah.
You were like, fuck yes. And then it was like, oh, they didn't make any of them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a genuine disappointment. Destiny did disappoint me.
And actually, in your case at least, the amount of animosity you showed at the control mechanisms we did try.
Well, that's because they're fucking terrible.
Well, then that makes Smash Brothers feel disappointing. which is in itself kind of compounds it a little bit.
I don't attribute that. I don't say the game's bad because of the controller. I know it's the controller.
Okay, fine.
What do you think of the game then?
I actually think the
Smash
game.
Brothers. I think it's a Smash Brothers.
Well, Smash Brothers is still great, but I think actually, I think Smash Brothers isn't as good as the previous year's versions. I don't think it's as good as Brawl.
I think they fucked up the roster a bit too much in some ways that aren't as cool as it seems. They tried some experiments, and then they completely failed not to make any clones, which doesn't help.
Well, I just missed the solo stuff. I miss Subspace Emissary. I miss Adventure, because those were great ways to get into the game, to something to do when you're on your own. This game just isn't as strong at that stuff.
But that's not the most...
And admittedly, it's not the most important thing about the game. That's not where your hundreds of hours go. Your hundreds of hours go in just playing that Smash mode in its most pure form.
Yeah. And
having a good time with it. But for like someone who's just picked up the game, their absence is meaningful.
Rightio.
But the GameCube adapters is the most disappointing part of that, because damn, that is still the way to play that game.
Yeah.
Planetary Annihilation.
Yeah.
Because,
I don't think that was really that disappointing.
Well, is it more the game or the way that they then treated people?
Well, you could arguably consider like the ridiculousness of the re-kickstarting of another game as a disappointment, sort of. I don't know.
It's a worrying trend, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
come back to
they
that.
were going to do that with freaking Broken Age, weren't they, at one point?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But regardless of that, regardless of any of this other shit, it's obviously Destiny that wins the category, so,
I think so, Destiny disappointed me. Yeah.
I haven't put Unity on this list because I don't think I'm actually that...
No, well...
It doesn't sadden me.
No.
It saddens me that it's as busted as it is, but...
Yeah, but the actual... It's kind of a lottery whether you'll get something inventive in a new Assassin's Creed or whether you'll get, like, by numbers Assassin's Creed. Admittedly, very prettily painted by numbers.
But I sort of expect that variance from Assassin's Creed, I guess.
But it's not like Unity was even the most busted game this year, which could also be its own category.
Oh yeah, I didn't bother making that a category because we haven't played the most busted of the busted, so it's
for obvious reasons.
Yeah. No news on Steam machines and controllers, really.
That's not a disappointment. It's like no one cares.
Well, given that they hyped... Well, I put it there because they hyped it so much last year and then it disappeared off the radar because they actually have to make it good. And
yeah, they were hyping it so that they could get those dev kits out there so that they could get developers to actually pay attention to it.
Maybe it's more like most disappointment that like the Oculus still isn't fucking out.
I've got that as well.
Good.
Yeah, the Oculus still hasn't happened.
Give them a break.
They got fucking bought by... Whoever, Facebook.
That's doesn't necessarily...
Millions of pounds.
Yeah, but
does
you
that
still
count
need
as the
time.
dumbest thing? Getting bought by Facebook?
Not really.
It's fairly dumb.
That makes total sense, I'm sure, to someone. Yeah.
Well, everything makes sense to someone. That's
I don't know if this podcast makes sense to anyone. Anyway.
That's pretty much my list
for
disappointments.
Destiny.
Yep.
I'm with you.
Most disappointing.
Yeah.
Come on, Bungie.
Because I really wanted that to be the game of the year for me.
That's the fall of the Bungie Empire.
Oh no, except they've already turned a profit on Destiny, I think. But
no, I don't mean commercially. I mean
just in hearts and minds.
Artistically.
Yeah. What was the other go? Because they always said that Destiny was a very long-term plan.
That's what worries me. They should abandon ship.
Oh, you reckon?
Anyway.
They can't do that. They can't.
Anyway.
Activision won't let them.
Should make Oni 2 or something. Make that an MMO. That'd be fucking amazing. Give it all these ninja ladies with guns.
Cat-like features.
Yeah.
So, Destiny, most disappointing thing of 2014. Although we haven't played it, but still, I think that's what we agreed upon. Right?
Yes, next.
Right. Okay, good.
Moving along.
The Time Spent Award. For the game we've sunk the most time in, and this will probably be like a personal thing rather than a
Oh yeah, obviously.
thing.
For me, FTL.
FTL.
That's actually surprising.
Well, it's because he hasn't played many games.
Yeah, I know.
I play quite a lot. Well, FTL can take quite a lot of time.
It can, but I wouldn't have thought you'd actually have played that many runs for it to take up the most time.
Well, I did it with every ship.
I think he's played it more than I have.
Yeah, it's true.
Sometimes multiple times with this. Yeah, because I died.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But those might be shorter runs.
Yeah.
And sometimes very short.
So I don't know what mine is, but I think it's a toss-up between Civ 5 and
Civ 5 didn't come out this year. I thought this was
No, but this is my general time spent award. Like, Dan said FTL. Right. FTL didn't come out.
Advanced Edition came out this year, apparently.
Yeah,
so I'm in.
It's DLC.
Game of the year. Anyway.
It's DLC for the same game. Like,
fine, okay.
But that's fine. I'm allowing it. Civ 5 tossed up with PvZ, because I played a shit ton of PvZ.
I don't think you played that as much Civ 5 as you think.
It's like 60-odd hours this year, which is quite a lot for me.
We didn't even finish one game. Oh, no, wait.
I've played some solo stuff.
We finished one.
Yeah, I've played a few solo rounds.
And Zeg, the man with no job.
Eve.
No. I don't play Eve. I log into Eve. And then I look at things and then I log out again.
You let it play itself.
The man with the time.
I don't know. Maybe Guild Wars still. 2. Not 1, obviously.
It's an amazing...
Although, if I'm going to talk about games that come out this year, it's probably Bravely Default, really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. That was 100 odd, wasn't it?
That may not be the longest, arguably. Even on the 3DS, possibly. I don't know. I actually don't really remember how long Bravely Default took me.
You took a real long time on it.
Well, yeah, it seemed like it.
Yeah.
But it's probably not as long as it was. I don't know.
The Time Spent Award.
Yeah, Time Spent Awards dished out, I suppose. Guild Wars 2, FTL, PvZ.
Mm-hmm.
Best aesthetic design in a video game, 2014. So I've got Child of Light as my first pick, because I thought it was a real pretty game. I really liked its water-painted watercolour, I suppose.
I can't believe that was this year.
Well, yeah, it was middle of this year. This watercolour aesthetic was real nice. Set the tone of that game really wonderfully, along with everything else they were doing. What with the rhyming dialogue and the nice calm music everywhere. Really good looking game. So that's my number one pick. I've got Alien on here because, man, they nailed what those films look like.
That was really not close. Yeah, it's really well done.
Transistor. Mm-hmm. It's pretty.
Probably not as pretty as Bastion, though. I don't know.
I don't think it's as pretty as Bastion because it's using this, and that's probably because it's using the same style that they've used before. If you see what I mean, it doesn't quite have the impact, I guess.
Maybe not.
And some of the stuff where they're using, like combining it with the more techie look overlay and stuff like that doesn't necessarily gel as well as Bastion's all that art style.
Well, I'm sure I said at the time that the slight problem with how Transistor looks is like towards the end of the game where it just goes white.
Right, yeah.
And then you don't get as much of the good-looking stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So I've got South Park on here for nailing South Park.
South Park, they nailed South Park, but that aesthetic existed, kind of.
Sure, but it is the closest thing to South Park that has ever, to the actual look of South Park that has ever been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they did a great job on it.
Yeah, deserves credit. Although they might, it depends how much of the South Park team they actually just got in to actually animate it. Like, I wonder if that's a thing. But either way, it's cool.
Well, apparently South Park is made with Maya, right?
Yes. So maybe the assets just directly translate. I don't know.
I expect they do.
And I've put down as a recent entry Guilty Gear Xrd because I'm pretty impressed with how they managed to do that anime look but actually model it in 3D, but you wouldn't know that until it does certain camera angles and... Xrd, or however you're supposed to... Xrd. But I think it's a real good looking game.
What do you think, Zeg?
No, I haven't got anything else apart from, that's it.
Well, just add like same list almost, or...
Yeah, like Transistor was the only one that I really had anything to look at. I mean, Bravely Default looked cool as well in some ways. Like the way...
Yeah.
I like
the art of the towns and stuff.
And yeah, I do like the character art style in that. It's pretty cool.
But that's more or less it.
Yeah, Child of Light?
I would be very happy for it to take that, because, yeah... It was a moving aesthetic, let's put it that way.
Coolio.
It's like taking Journey. Like, Journey's probably stronger than it at that, but the whole aesthetic added to what that game was about, and it was consistent throughout, which is hard to say about a lot of things. Boom! Child of Light, best aesthetic design 2014. Best graphics technical. I haven't actually got a lot for this, but
Oh, shit.
Because, I don't know, I haven't been totally blown away with visuals, which is odd given that we're, supposedly in the next gen.
Well, everyone was super enthusiastic about Titanfall at the time, but it turned out
It's
to not
not
be
that good
incredibly
looking, is it?
It's just Source Engine, isn't
No.
it? Plus a bit more.
It's not that good looking overall. I mean, it runs at a fair old clip, and there's a lot. It's one of those sort of like the old COD theory. There's a lot going on, but none of it is really marvelous to look at. Like some of the fire effects look real dodgy, and like the texture. There's not a lot of good lighting going on. It does what it needs to do, and it, at least on the Xbox, and it keeps up its frame rate pretty much, apart from screen tearing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the most amazing looking game. Call of Duty is a much better looking game than Titanfall. Because that's actually throwing around some next gen stuff.
Anyway, not Ghosts, but yeah.
And some of the facial design is really nice. It has its rough spots, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because it's Call of Duty, it always has rough spots. But it's
all just the Quake 3 engine, isn't it?
Yep. But
actually, Source is the Quake 1 engine, technically.
Yeah.
If you want to get technical.
But it's a pretty game. I like COD a lot, actually, for its visuals. And what little I've seen of Forza Horizon 2, that's a pretty good looking game as well.
Yeah.
I just wish it ran at 60.
I wasn't that impressed when I was watching Kippers' stream of it. Maybe because he was just driving across a big open expanse of grass and trees, and that just looks like all video games look when you're driving open expanse of grass and trees, with like really obvious repeating textures, because you can't really avoid that when you're doing a massive open world game.
I guess, yeah.
I think, what do I think?
I mean, Driveclub, in theory, actually, although I haven't seen enough of it to make a judgment here, which is why I didn't put it in, but actually some of the visual, if you took just the visuals of Driveclub, there are many points where I think it actually beats Forza Horizon, but again, I've only sort of seen these. Like the way it actually handles the atmosphere of the sky and stuff is really nice. The lighting effects at different times of the day are really impressive in bits of that. But again, I've not actually seen that in action, in motion. Those are like stills, and it looks really good in those.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really add that to the list. And, they only just added the rain stuff, which I haven't actually looked at, this was one of the selling points for that game, and it didn't happen. Dumbest thing, Driveclub.
I think if it wasn't fucked, I might go for Unity, but the crowd stuff in that looks really good. Just generally, the whole city.
Yeah, I mean, if you ran it on like a top spec beefy PC,
but apparently
it
must
look great. But...
Well, apparently they've got like micro stuttering from loading and stuff. Oh no, that was Far Cry. Anyway, Far Cry 4 is another good one. Yeah. But I wouldn't say it's a leap forward.
It's not a great leap from 3, is it?
I feel like Unity does have a technical leap in the crowd stuff, because it just looks so much better when you've got like 100 people instead of 12 or whatever.
It's hard to judge this one because, if it was running on a beast of a PC, sure, you can make anything look good.
Well,
the fact that it doesn't look
on the
good
port.
on the console versions, except in stills.
It does. It runs fine on PS4, I think, when they've patched it.
I'm still not sure they're there, are they?
That's what they say. That's what Digital Foundry say, anyway.
Oh, are they? Yeah. Did the last one actually do something? Because the last performance patch that I'd heard of did 2% difference, which is not enough.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think they overreached themselves technically. Apparently, they claim that the frame rate was CPU bound because of the number of dudes they had on.
What's the weird balance this year, isn't it? More than any other year, the CPU is underpowered compared to the GPU.
Yeah.
And it's that's never happened before in a console.
Not really. I mean, they haven't figured out how to use the memory efficiently or the parallelism also.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
I mean they
GPU compute. It's not really been mastered yet for games.
That's where... Actually, yeah. I mean, that Uncharted 4 demo was awesome.
It does look real nice.
Yeah. Anyway. Best graphics technical.
I like COD, for me.
I think Far Cry 4 looks better than COD.
You reckon?
Yeah. Yeah. It's open world as well, so it's doubly impressive. Not doubly, but...
Sego, voice of neutrality.
I don't have any opinion on either of them, so that's not going to help.
You've actually played COD. I can't imagine that. I mean, it's good. It's much better than the previous stuff, but I don't think a COD game is quite best graphics technical.
I mean, you saw me playing it.
Just an incremental. Yeah, I did. exactly.
Admittedly, I didn't show you the best looking part, which
Sure.
doesn't help. I mean, you saw the jet sequence.
That was ludicrous. Anyway, it looked fine, I'm sure. It looked good.
It consistently runs great, and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I think they're all pretty. And the swarms are kind of cool when they happen, and the lighting is nice. As I say, there's one scene I think I've described on the cast before where you're just looking at your hand on the table, and the fidelity of that one shot is pretty great until you realise that the guy in the background his mouth is moving like a puppet from Thunderbirds.
Right, yeah.
It ruins the illusion completely, but if you took it as a still, that is a fantastic shot.
The question is it a one-off model? Is it just like the high-res hand model that we use only for that scene?
Well, yeah, I don't know. You do look at your hand at other points in the game, because obviously the big thing is that you've got a robot hand.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's important in places.
Destiny looked quite nice.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been giving it the technical award.
Yeah.
From around the interwebs. I haven't seen it in action really.
No, I've seen it in action on PS4. It's really nice. Yeah.
More than Far Cry?
I haven't seen Far Cry apart from on videos.
Okay.
I haven't actually seen that in
Hard to judge
reality. Well, I've played Far Cry 3. That's pretty good looking, and this looked pretty good, especially all that. This is aesthetic, but the Shangri-La stuff, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose I don't know. It's just got mountains and stuff, so it's probably easier to
make it look pretty.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
If any of us had actually played it, then people were also quite enthusiastic about Infamous Second Son's crazy lighting passes.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that. Yes, I have seen that. I've seen that on a PS4. Damn, in places that's a pretty game. The particles are pretty impressive. Like, because it does that cool stuff where they feel like it's not a scripted animation, like the way neon will come off a neon sign, for instance, and sort of just waft its way into you. That's really nice, actually. That's a really good shout, actually.
Right, cool. Well, I don't have an answer for this one.
Well, I obviously don't. It's all up the road.
I just don't think it should be Call of Duty. No, not that I have anything against them having the best graphics of the year. I just don't think they do.
But it runs at 60.
Okay,
that is the most important thing.
Okay,
it looks great and runs at 60.
Fair enough.
Although, actually, those infamous particles are pretty awesome. Some pretty quality smoke effects.
That's what I say about that.
Smoke effects. Well, whatever. Let's recall this not inconclusive then, because it sounds like there's
none
no
of these categories are all that conclusive, really.
That was my
Call of Duty, Far Cry 4, and Infamous all win the Best Technical Graphics Award. Because, whatever.
Yeah.
Because whatever. Best Original Music in a Video Game 2014. Licensed music does not apply. We could have that category as well, but I honestly didn't think of a good use of licensed music this year.
No. There were some bad ones. But
Really? Oh, tell me the bad ones.
well, no, I was just thinking about the Destiny trailer.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess.
It's already in the game,
No,
technically.
it's not in the game.
So, Child of Light, because I really think that soundtrack is excellent. Sort of mellow pianos and stuff, and very well composed, if you ask me. Really liked it. Plants vs. Zombies, but you may argue that that's just because it's Plants vs. Zombies music. They're not exactly doing anything new, but it kind of fits that game really well. To be honest, the bit that stands out for me is the ridiculous lobby music that's playing between rounds, where there's someone just singing really badly and makes me laugh every time they get to the high bit.
Oh, my ears.
Yeah, but I like it. And Bayonetta 2 for the Bayonetta theme song. The second Bayonetta theme song. Because it's pretty catchy. And plays during most of the fight scenes.
Zeg, you got any contributions?
Well, there's obviously Transistor, but I think Dan will like that quite a lot.
You think?
I've had some of it. It's weird. It's weird.
Well, I think it works better in the context of the actual game. That's sort of the thing.
Yeah,
you don't realise how well it fits with it when you're just seeing the tracks by themselves, and also obviously when you're actually playing the game and it like washes it out when you go into the pause mode and does the humming version.
Oh yeah, no,
That's
that is
cool.
cool. That is cool.
That sounds cool.
That is very cool, actually.
It's like, what else is on my list? Well, like, obviously, Final Fantasy Theatre Rhythm for being all the Final Fantasy music ever.
Yeah, none of it's new though, is it? It's like,
well, also news for this not normal podcast. They decided to release more DLC for it after they said they were going to not.
and it's Bravely Default. Isn't it?
They put in some Bravely Default music,
Which is great. That's a good choice.
Well,
Are they bringing in like characters as well? Like,
no.
Oh.
Well, they barely did any character DLC anyway, so that seemed like. I mean, obviously, because who the fuck wants characters?
Yeah,
you want the music.
You just want the music, right?
But then, so they put Bravely Default music in, but then they caught that up by. It's like they put in the world map music, and that's fine for being a world map stage. Obviously, you need one of those. They put in the boss battle, I guess you'd call it, music, and that's fine too. But then they also chose two of the different songs that play during the final battle. Like, I haven't even seen that fucking now.
Oh, right.
So those musics are not relevant to me in any way.
Okay. You're not feeling them.
It's like, if they just put in the normal fight music, that would have been more preferable to me.
Yeah, well, they did that with a lot of the Final Fantasy, didn't they? Just have the normal fight music.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess the fight music in a Final Fantasy game is what most people associate with a Final Fantasy game.
You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Bravely Default. It's like, what? Admittedly, when I came to look at these DLCs, I was like, I don't remember any of the music from Bravely Default. But then once I actually went and looked it up and listened to it for like 2 seconds, I was like, alright, now I remember the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I just heard that non-stop. So yeah, that doesn't actually have the best music. It just has
good music.
Good music, yeah. And, in some ways, for me, it was like things out of Final Fantasy that I hadn't heard that I thought were cool. Like the awesome remix of Man with the Machine Gun apparently from Chocobo Dungeon. And it's like, obviously I'd never played that game, so I would have known they'd done this cool, awesome orchestral kind of remix of an already good song from Final Fantasy VIII. There you go. So yeah, the only thing that I care about is Transistor, obviously. And my phone has run out of batteries now, so now I can't be any use to any of these categories from now on.
Transistor, I would say.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not against that. I would.
Transistor win.
Honourable mention for Child of Light, but none of you have seen that, but I think it's really good. But it's one of those ones, again, where it's like, it fits the game so well compared to anything else. But so yeah, Transistor, best original music of 2014.
Are we about halfway through this list? Because we could have a break, and then if my phone fits your phone's charger, we could actually.
Yeah, I think we're probably more than halfway through. So yeah, we can break.
We can stop for pizza.
Yep, stop
for charge my phone.
Yeah, this is going to be a short year for us, I think.
Well, it was fairly obvious with the amount of games.
It's a short year in general.
It's a short year. Yeah, it only took 200 days.
Was there 28? Was there 28 in February this year?
No.
So it's not actually a short year.
So we'll be back after this intermission music.
Well, I mean, there was 28 as opposed to 29, so it's
compose.
a short year of the 3 of the 4, I suppose.
Okay.
I guess, yeah. I thought 2012 was the last league.
Yeah, I guess it would have been. Even numbers.
Yeah. But is it even number this year?
Yeah, but even numbers and also, that...
4s.
Yeah, however you calculate
I don't know. I actually don't know. Fuck it. Part 1 over. Oxygenated.
Hello, welcome back to the SaladCast.
If you thought that first part was full of vim and vigour, we've been hella pizzas now, so this is going to be not as good.
We're cheese fueled now, come on.
I don't think we get fueled by cheese, I think we get lethargy by cheese.
Lethargized.
Is there a verb to become lethargic?
Yes, lethargic.
No, that's not lethargic is the
You become lethargic.
Descriptive.
That's what you just said.
No, but I mean, is there any singular verb that means become lethargic?
Lethargicized.
No, there isn't. Is the answer? Moving on.
Entyrant. Tyranated.
That's the same word.
There is a word I'm thinking of.
Worst audio thing of 2014.
Do you have any nominations for that at all?
The Nidhogg music.
Oh, come on.
Because it's kind of painful. It fits the game, but man, is it kind of painful.
Admittedly, like, 3 of the tracks aren't as good as the castle one. The castle one is clearly the
Castle one's
best.
clearly the best, yeah. Although I quite partial to the cloud.
That one's the most ridiculous. You're talking about weird music.
The looping snare sound from Plants vs. Zombies, when that happens. It's a glitch, but when it happens, you like the sound of you getting caught in one of the weed snares just loops endlessly until the game ends. It's really annoying. The incidental speech from Sonic Boom.
Oh, Christ.
I love rooms. Bounce pads. Or my personal favourite that I heard on a Game Trailers video, where it happened in just the right way, where it said, "Hey, look, ramps! We can use those as ramps!"
Awesome.
Somnolent.
Somnolent.
What? So I am somnolenting you if I'm making you tired. Tired? Tiled? I'm making you tiled.
There's a word for that. It's called tiling.
Tiling. Yeah.
Right. Sonic Boom.
You don't tire someone, though. I suppose you can retire someone, so can you tire someone?
You can tire someone out.
You can tire someone.
Tire someone.
It doesn't mean the same thing as tiring someone. You're not applying tires to them.
Turn them into the Michelin Man.
Those are my bets.
You got any other examples?
Worst audio.
I was trying to think of any.
The Sonic Boom thing is unbelievably terrible.
Yeah, the Sonic Boom thing probably wins.
It's pretty funny.
Oh wait, I thought of one that's almost as bad in a very similar vein.
Mm-hmm.
The speech samples while you're waiting to take your shot in Mario Golf.
Oh yeah, those are pretty annoying.
They just won't fucking shut up. It's literally the one time in golf where you have to shut up.
Yeah, you're not allowed to actually speak during that time on a real golf course. Yeah, anytime now.
I don't know, what were they even?
Similar to that.
I mean, you got that from the demo, didn't you? It's like, nope, they've ruined this.
That was the worst. Maybe it's different in the real game.
Maybe.
But I doubt it.
I doubt it.
It was the one time where you have to play as Yoshi in order to hear his dumb noises rather than voice.
I don't know, I thought that, like, an early thought of mine for this category was that, like, that music that plays at the start of a lot of Titanfall games on the Xbox.
That was last year, though, wasn't it?
No, Titanfall's this year.
No, I remember. When did we last talk about that? It seems like
on a podcast.
Was the beta out before last year?
Oh, maybe. I don't know, yeah, it was that bit that goes...
The bit that I didn't realise was there.
Yeah, that's because it doesn't play as often on the PC version, I've discovered.
No.
So it just seems to be an Xbox thing. But again, there's a lot more audio in the PC version.
Yeah, it's like 36 gigs of
audio.
audio.
Like I'm hearing conversations between grunts that I've never heard before and things. And yeah. That's all I've got. They haven't got any more terrible audio things. It's been not a bad year for annoying audio. I suppose you could argue like the Bayonetta and the noises she makes during a fight can get a little irritating. Because it basically just consists of huh, ha, huh, get out, fuck off.
Yeah, it's quite repetitive and like constant.
Yeah, constant. Depends how well you can tune out fuck off, I suppose.
I suppose technically, if you were foolish enough to play with the sound on, most of the sounds in Space Engineers are pretty fucking terrible. Particularly the like hand pneumatic drill, like when you're getting your early ores. That is just like because it's a fucking drill. You know, like there's a reason road workers wear ear protection because it's not a good thing to listen to continuously for minutes at a time, and it's not very fun in the game either. Also, why is there sound in space?
Gnome didn't enjoy being in the same room as me while Call of Duty was being played, but that's just because of guns and shit.
Yeah, that's just
That
Call of
just
Duty.
always sounds really
Call
loud.
of Duty and Forza.
Oh, you don't like me playing
Really
Forza? Yeah, you don't like the engine noises.
Yep, that's an engine.
But Forza is... I haven't played Forza Horizon 2 yet, so you can't have that one.
But surely in Forza, I guess by now you would have been playing with the like ridiculous engine cars. It wouldn't have been like just a regular ass car.
Oh yeah, the last stuff I was playing in Forza 5 was the open wheel cars,
Yeah.
which are, all engine.
Ridiculous noise.
But good fun though. Recommend it. Skip to that if you haven't already.
Skip to the end.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't think of a lot else really.
Well, I think we've got two strong contenders in Sonic Boom and Mario Golf.
Yeah, but pretty much the same thing.
Well, I think Sonic Boom is
Sonic
worse.
Boom has got to be much worse.
Sonic Boom wins. Most terrible, awful
terrible
thing
audio thing.
in the world of audio.
Yeah, looking at this list, not so bad otherwise. Yeah,
next.
all right. We haven't got many left to go, so I'm hoping we end up talking a lot about Game of the Year.
Well, that's the one that matters.
The coolest audio thing. The exact opposite.
Install critical update. Fuck you, phone.
Not now.
Not at this critical moment. So I've got. I couldn't think of a great deal for this one.
Well, that's because this is a really weird category again.
Well, normally there's something that stands out. Is that's the coolest bloody noise I've heard all year. So I've got. Well, this isn't really a noise, but it made me giggle a lot when in Sunset Overdrive I stood on a train and the guy, for no reason at all, just suddenly starts going, "Chew, fucking chew, motherfuckers!" No reason at all. Unprompted. It just made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as cool as the friggin' laser gun noise from Plants vs. Zombies. Man, that thing is awesome. Because you sit there, and I think it's when you're the cactus. I think you can do it as both the cactus and the pea shooter when you've got the laser versions of them. And you sit there, and it's a charge gun. So you charge it up, and it goes. And then when you reach the critical moment of it being charged, it goes in a cool sort of voice. But then you fire it, and this is the coolest shit because it doesn't. It goes, boom, but then you think it's over. But then there's like an echo that sort of goes afterwards. It's awesome, and it goes all through the surround, really nice, and it's a quality noise.
It's a quality.
It's a bit dubsteppy.
Quality noise from that quality laser gun.
It's a quality noise. It's really satisfying to fire.
Oh, I thought of something else that probably goes in the worst category. Except there's not really a worst sound effect. It's more like worst audio decision, which was when they got rid of the original music out of the Binding of Isaac remake. Because the new stuff is just rubbish.
Oh, was it not Denny Baranowski again?
No, they got rid of all his stuff and put in some new stuff. But it's it's not really... I wouldn't even say it's music any longer. It's more like atmospheric.
Oh.
It's just
So it's not creepy enough.
No. I think the original music of Binding of Isaac was pretty good.
Yeah, it's very soothing. Not enough of it, but it's soothing. I suppose I quite liked the sound of the sombrero bean bomb from Plants vs. Zombies as well. That was always quite satisfying. Because it would go do like a Mexican before exploding.
Yep.
Satisfying.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else that was good.
Or should we also just have ramps? We can use those as ramps.
That's not a good one. It's a funny.
It's really funny though. I thought. I suppose did you end up playing threes at all, Dan? Or
No.
Because I quite liked the cute little voices of all the cards that they make. Because they all have faces on them, and when you get a bigger number, they all have different personalities depending on the number and stuff. And they're quite cool. Especially there's one where who I think wears a Walkman for no reason at all, and you just when you first see him, he sort of just goes, "Hello, ladies." Quite like those. Not as cool as the laser sound though.
Theoretically, some of the various attack sound effects from Transistor were pretty good. For the trouble with those is you don't really hear them much out over the music, I guess, because the music is the important bit. So obviously they're kind of less noticeable. But they are quite nice sound effects.
That was sort of true of Bastion's audio design, wasn't it? The actual combat noise wasn't a big deal. And there's all the music and the narrator that you needed to care about.
Yes. I suppose the narrator counts as an audio thing that's good, but it's not as good as Bastion's, obviously. Because it's less of a...
It's less personality, is it? Or...
Well, it's less of a, overall... It's because it's not a story any longer. It's like Bastion, it's like a story in a kind of Prince of Persia way, almost.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's just like a dude talking to you, who you happen to be carrying around with you in a song.
I suppose it would be quite nice to add, at least in terms of a mention, the way the Luftrausers music works.
Yeah.
How it has 3 interchangeable parts, and those parts change depending on the parts you pick for your plane. It's like, that's cool. I wouldn't count that as a soundtrack because it's not really it's a song but with multiple different parts, I guess. It's hard to call it the soundtrack, but it's a clever audio thing that perhaps gives that game a bit more life in a way, because that's one reason to try everything other than gameplay mechanics. It's just, what does this even sound like? Do these 2 weird things work together in terms of music? Or am I just going to make a horrible music mess? Which actually doesn't really happen, because it's quite well designed. Yeah, I suppose I was expecting more from when I saw Watchdogs in action, from how it handled radio. Because I suppose that's not really the worst. Again, go back to the worst category, but it was kind of disappointing in that you could get into a car, the radio would come on, and if any sort of mission voiceover stuff happened, it wouldn't dip the radio, so it just sounded really cluttered,
right?
And a bit. It's just well, that's kind of bad. Even GTA, I think, used to dip the music out. GTA 4 and stuff dips the music out when people are talking, because that's what you do. It's audio design, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, another disappointing element of Watch Dogs that I was like, okay. Haven't entirely thought this through. But coolest audio thing. No decent suggestions? Happy for me to give it to the cactus laser?
I guess.
Best mimicry of a video game sound effect goes to Robert Kemp for Cactus Laser.
Yeah, it's a cool noise. Trust me on it. It's a cool noise. Okay, we've only got 3 more left, and the third one being Game of the Year. Woo! Worrying trend of the year. And I think both of my answers are pretty much the same thing, kinda. The top one is broken games. Because there's just been so much more of them, and specifically broken AAAs, which you shouldn't really expect this of, I guess. It's been a shit year. Let's run down everything. Driveclub didn't bloody work. Unity obviously doesn't work. Far Cry 4 Watchdogs did. The port was bad. It worked okay on consoles, but the PC port was pretty terrible. But then again, that's probably true of Unity, I guess, as well.
What was Destiny launch like? Was that okay?
Destiny was really smooth, actually. Yeah. Titanfalls wasn't bad either, in terms of connectivity. They had a few wobbly days, but it picked up pretty quick.
Yep. Halo failed.
Halo has failed big time, yeah. Can't really think of much else. It's weirdly, to put this in perspective, it's been a good year for EA because I don't think they've had a game that's failed. But then again, they haven't released so many games this year. Because Dragon Age is okay. It's had a couple of bugs. Apparently a couple of quest breakers, but they've fixed those now.
Mm-hmm.
They fixed those pretty quick. And FIFA is FIFA, so no risk there. And Titanfall was the only other thing they really put out this year. So, apart from Sims.
Quest breaking. Oh yeah, that was busted, but not as badly as the Sim City. But
Sims is mostly busted because it's just a cut down game.
Yes, it's not a very good Sims game.
That could be, for some people, that would be most disappointing.
Yeah.
I forgot about The Sims.
Yeah, I didn't even write it on my list.
I
also didn't write Dragon Age on my list somehow. I'm not sure how I just skipped all the EA games.
I took out the most forgotten game category because I couldn't think of anything to go in it.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And so Sims 4, I guess, wins that. We've totally forgot about it. Until just now. It was a thing. There's no pools.
No.
The house editor
looked
kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. I know very little about that game, so I can't really comment. But...
The house editing in The Sims, you'd think by now would actually be a good thing. considering they've had 4 attempts to do it.
Yeah, but you could say that about freaking Sims.
Because you think about how it was in Sims 1, it's like, you were just drawing out a square area on a grid, and it's like, how much more complicated can it get?
Yeah.
But then obviously with the Sims 4, they've done, you pick up the rooms and move the whole thing in one big chunk, and it's like, well, that's a logical improvement.
Isn't it a little less grid-based as well now
Well,
or something? So
It's like SimCity. They wanted to fancy it up and have curves and stuff. Which in SimCity's case isn't actually helpful, as we all know.
And you could sort of argue that the character creator in Sims is actually kind of powerful for making people look like caricatures of real people and stuff like that.
What was the category?
We're in worrying trends, so we were talking about broken games and how surprising it was that EA didn't put out a broken game.
Right.
I suppose that's a surprise. Shit, we should have thought of that earlier. It has been Ubisoft's worst year, I guess. For a very long time. Because I don't think not one of their games has released totally problem-free. Like Far Cry 4 has had a number of scripting issues for people on PC. There was a game save bug on PS4 that meant you could just lose all your progress. And the solution was uninstall the game and re-download the entire cocking game, which is not very good. They couldn't even patch it. The version that went out wasn't supposed to have gone out. That's a bit of a cock-up. So yeah, the crew is okay, stability-wise.
Well, supposedly. It still might be quite buggy.
Yeah, I haven't heard much terrible about it, though. That seems to have survived. Well, it might have the same PC port problems, I suppose, if it's all running off the same engine, or as Ubisoft stuff tends to. So I don't know. And the only other thing I've got is the misuse, well, sort of broken and unfinished games, as in misusing Greenlight and services like that. And
just the words alpha and beta.
Well, yeah. There's been a number of just unbelievably bad things that have come out through those processes that have just been, either taking the piss or using assets stolen from other things or, people that no person should ever need to pay for, such as air control or the letter, which amazingly got onto the Wii U.
I guess that is separate from the alpha and beta thing. The alpha and beta thing's clearly a worrying trend. And people don't fucking know what alpha and beta means any longer because no one ever uses them correctly.
Not anymore.
Nope. They're meaningless. The game's either out or not.
It was kind of funny when Planetary Annihilation did their one, where it was like they had alpha and beta, but then they went on to do gamma.
Let's just do gamma.
It was like, well, okay then, I guess.
You're on the Delta version, yeah.
Kind of like that, though. But it's like, some people still use it properly, like Evolve still use beta to actually mean that they're doing testing of the pretty much feature-complete game.
Sort of, but then they were like, big alpha?
Well,
like, what exactly is a big alpha?
Yeah,
surely that is a beta at that point.
Oh, no, you're right. Was that the only thing? But did they actually do a beta, or was it just a big alpha? Maybe I'm confusing that. Because, like, Halo, in a weird way, you'd think Halo 5 is actually an alpha because it's happening like a year before the game comes out almost, and it's definitely not final, anything that's in that. So it's not a beta, really. But they're calling it a beta.
Actually.
But then maybe, is it a beta? I forget what the ruling is. Is it a beta when it's being tested by the public and it's an alpha when it's only internal testing?
Well,
but I thought beta was like feature complete.
Yeah, beta and alpha was meant to mean completeness, wasn't it? It's like alpha is when things could still change a lot, and beta is when it's mostly set.
Yeah, it's pretty much feature complete.
It's just bug fixing.
Yeah.
But that's not what anyone uses it for.
No, I don't think anyone's actually think about it. I don't think anyone's using it right. I suppose it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
It's like worrying trends, but not. It's more like annoying trends of everyone won't fucking stop making simulator games. Some of them are funny, but a lot of them are just shit.
Yes.
Oh, Goat Simulator's funny.
Street Cleaning Simulator.
Not great.
What, Goat Simulator?
No, Goat Simulator's fine.
Yeah.
That's because that's funny. That's actually... It's like when Game made Christmas Shopper Simulator. It's like, that's only funny because it was sponsored by Game. And you're like, what the fuck is this marketing for? Let's try and cash in on the simulator craze.
That's so funny, I have to admit.
Wasn't a particularly good game.
No.
Predictably.
Farming Simulator didn't come out on consoles in the end, did it?
I think it did.
Yeah.
Did it actually come out? Okay.
It came as rubbish.
Yeah.
It's not, you know.
It's not really Farming Simulator, is
No.
it? It's just like I could drive a tractor a bit.
Exactly.
But then you've got games that are actually sort of pretty good simulations,
Yeah.
not using the simulator name. Like, I suppose the one that comes to mind is Spin Tires, where
Right.
actually its physics simulation is pretty good.
I almost got that for Zach in the Steam sale.
I was sort of tempted to buying it myself, but then I went and read some stuff. As is the problem. You go and read some stuff, and I was like, oh, it seems like they're in a bit of a patch of not releasing updates very quickly, and like the last update that had some problems that people didn't like, and so they may walk it back or whatever. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll wait again forever until summer.
It's hard to tell with any of these.
Wait for the next sale.
It's hard to tell with any of these games that aren't technically out, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
You know, they could shift a lot. A bit of me meant to check in with that Quantum Rush game again at some point, just to see if that had actually become anything good.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realise is that that's actually Quantum Rush is actually sort of like a follow-on from I think an Xbox and PS2 era future racing game called Quantum Redshift.
Oh, right.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, I think it's a spiritual successor to that, and it's.
Worrying trend. Nothing good.
Well, nothing amazing this year. It's been, apart from, well, I don't know, Ninty's had a bit of a knockout year. Oh, and other games of note we haven't played, I suppose. I didn't say Donkey Kong earlier,
Yeah.
which is getting a lot of love for potentially being the best platformer of the year.
Jeez. Is that the ice one?
Yeah, Tropical Freeze.
Because they made a game in a tropical setting for like all of them, and they were like, "Oh shit,
What are we going to do?
we've used banana trees and palm trees too much. Got to move on to a new theme. So obviously we'll just have random ice appear." Logic.
Well, I think that's the bad guy, isn't it? Yeah, like the bad guy's freezing the tropics.
Didn't DK64 that had worlds, didn't it?
Sort of.
They weren't all just jungly.
It was pretty much Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
Like,
They don't always have to be on a tropical space. They could be in a volcano or something.
depends on the
I
bad
bet
guy
they
in the
probably
setting, doesn't
do.
it?
I bet levels in Donkey Kong Country have probably gone into volcanoes before.
Probably.
That's a tropical thing as well. I'm just like, I guess volcanoes count as a tropical theme.
I've gone underwater, but I suppose you could be underwater in the tropics.
Yep.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Yeah.
Worrying trend.
Worrying trend.
Everything being busted.
Busted is definitely... It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
There'd be just AAA titles just releasing unfinished.
Yep.
Boo to you all. Learn your lessons. Except they won't, because they, pre-ordered culture kind of fucks up anyone being able to vote with their wallets. Stop pre-ordering. Has it been bad for pre-ordered culture this year? How many
Well, there hasn't been quite as much pre-order bonus shit.
Well, wasn't Watchdogs kind of riddled with that shit? Like millions upon millions of different versions of it.
Yeah.
You could get.
But,
PS4 exclusive content.
I don't think there's been quite as many as there was last year.
Oh, well, Assassin's Creed did have that weird fake slot machine thing. Did you hear about that?
No.
There was I think it was a campaign for Assassin's Creed Unity had you go to a website and you would get a certain number of plays at this slot machine.
Right.
Except it was rigged, so you'd always win the same thing on your first or second go. It was you get an exclusive sword if you pre-order the game, from playing this little slot machine or something. And it was bullshit. You could just do it multiple times and always win the same thing. And it's a bit insidious.
It's not really a trend, though.
I guess not. No, but I was just asking. It's how has pre-order culture been this year? Because I hate it. It's dumb. You pre-order the games that you already kind of know are guaranteed to be great, like Smash Bros.
I don't think you can say you pre-order the games that you already know are sort of guaranteed to be great, because it's just that's the problem when you pre-order one and it turns out to be shit.
Well, I mean, it's I wish, in the case of Smash Bros, I should have pre-ordered it a lot earlier, as it turns out, to perhaps have a
even
chance
then, you might not have.
No, depends how they run those, who gets the stock systems, I suppose, but Well, my GameCube adapter, yo.
Yeah.
Yo. Cool.
I suppose best trend, a return to the space sim, is upon us.
Yeah, well, maybe. Remains to be seen how any of those turn out again, really.
Yeah.
Even at this point.
Elite's out.
Elite is out now.
I
think it's quite
I'm still not really convinced that game is actually finished, even though they say it's out.
No. I think it's like, it's a base to build on that isn't full of bugs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. That's what Eve was.
Well, yeah, it sounds pretty solid, and it sounds a lot like Elite. In that respect, they've made the game good on its promise.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, every station looks the same and stuff.
Yeah. Presumably, there's some like asset problems, I guess. But...
And what I've heard, like, it isn't very well tutorialized, so there's tons of stuff that doesn't bother to tell you.
I've heard that as well, and that the initial multi-hour grind can be real troublesome until you actually find yourself in a position to sort of craft your own path.
The thing is, once you
just
get
it going is real. It's
really hard. Yeah. The thing is, once you get going, I don't know, you're going to run out of game. So maybe that's what.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to me like there is much. It's like sort of the same problem with a lot of these things, like Space Engineers, even or stuff like that, where it's just like the way I'd always talk about Minecraft and stuff, it's like getting to the point is the interesting bit, but once you get there and you're just like, well,
wow,
I'm now I can just continue. Or like when I was playing Worm, it's like building up the farm and stuff, that was the cool part, but once you've got it and you're just maintaining it, then it's kind of like, oh, I guess I'm done with this game.
Yeah. I think you just go exploring, don't you, and try and find more.
Well, yeah, I suppose in Elite at least you could change your path at any point and try the other things. It's like, I'm a reasonably good pirate, let's try going into mining, or...
Yeah.
Although the trading aspect of the game is apparently the weakest at the moment. Like, you can't... As it is, it's not that profitable to be a trader right now.
No.
But when is being a trader ever profitable in games? Even in Eve.
But that's what Elite was mostly about before, wasn't it? Like being a trader more than anything else.
I think that is the core of the initial grind. That's probably why it's not very profitable.
Or maybe that's why the grind is so painful.
Yeah.
Because it's just not paced well enough. Or...
I don't think you can do much pirating in the beginner ship. It's a
bit underpowered.
And you also have a tiny hold, so you're not going to...
Yes.
You're not going to do too much trade.
It's also possibly the best reason to consider having an Oculus.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. That and Euro Truck Simulator. Which are basically the same game, really.
Yeah, sit in the cockpit simulator.
Yeah. Truck this thing from here to here.
There's a little less dogfighting in Euro Truck.
In Euro Truck, yeah.
Although it would be awesome if they could lob that in.
Yeah.
Truck battles! Unfortunately, it'd be just basically like jousting. Just drive past each other.
You need like a Mad Max trading simulator.
There's meant to be a Mad Max game coming out at some point, isn't there?
Yeah.
Still?
And a new film. Yeah. With like Tom Hardy or whatever. Film of the year, guys? Film of the year? Guardians of the Galaxy?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
So it doesn't look like, we don't really know. We still don't know enough about any of the other space-ish games.
Like, Star Citizen, no.
Well, Star Citizen recently reached version 1.0 for its dogfighting stuff.
Just for the dogfighting.
Yeah. Like the arena, like join into a random game, have a fight mode.
Can you play that then?
Yeah, there are playable bits of it, yeah.
Well.
And we still have no convincing evidence of what that other space game is going to be like. What place that space game is called? There's too many of them.
No Man's Sky?
Yeah, that one.
No Man's Sky. There's another one called Last Starfighter or something, isn't it? No, that's a film.
Yeah, that is a film.
Something Starfighter.
Yeah.
Skyman? No.
No Man's Sky is going to be weird. I think it'll be good.
I want to see what the hell it's like.
Yeah. What the actual game is, that's still the bit that no one really knows.
It seems to me like it's almost like a Molyneux game from when Molyneux knew what he was talking about.
You're not wrong there. It does sound a lot like that sort of promise, doesn't it? That just without a morality system.
I think I think it'll be like a 21st century magic carpet.
Or maybe, yeah.
Anyway.
But do you have to be evil or good? And
probably.
Do you get to throw people?
Yeah.
It'd be like, do you kill all the animals or do you just leave them alive?
Yeah.
It's the morality choice. Just kill them. No reason not to. There's a million planets.
Yeah. No consequence.
If you can travel faster than light between planets, then why the fuck wouldn't you kill everything?
Harvest.
Yep.
Magic carpet.
I might skip the next one actually. If we agreed that broken games are the worst trend.
What was the next one?
Well, laziest sequels in here, but I'm not 100% sure if there were any totally lazy sequels. I put like Assassin's Creed, of course, because that's every year's entry.
Well,
but that's not really true this year because they did put a shit ton of effort into Unity. But
if you want to talk about like weirdly lazy sequel, only maybe not. I mean, a sequel of a game that was incredibly tiny to start with.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
They've released 2 Five Nights at Freddy's within 1 year,
yeah,
and that was pretty ridiculous. But there's not really anything to that game, so there's not.
No, they're super simplistic.
There's not much to do, but that is fairly hilarious.
Mm.
It wasn't even like a whole year's worth of time. It was like within a half a year, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. It's internet bait, isn't it? It's that game.
Well, everyone's fucking obsessed with it.
It purely exists just to watch people have a slight scare on YouTube.
I haven't seen anything of Legend of Grimrock 2, and that's another game which you can't really make a lazy sequel of. It will just be like another dungeon.
I suppose there's the puzzly stuff, yeah, you have to perhaps expand on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, the other games I forgot that we haven't played, I suppose. Talos Principle recently came out. That is apparently pretty great.
That's not for this category.
No, but I was just thinking
just
in general games we haven't talked about and can't talk about. There's been a ton of games.
Mario Kart 8, clearly a lazy sequel. Because it's just Mario Kart
It's
again.
awesome.
You can't not make Mario Kart exactly the same.
Mario Kart 8, that's good. That's a pretty damn good game.
You know what, I kind of can't help but agree with you, especially seeing as they didn't bother making a proper battle mode.
I don't know, it's not lazy with all that DLC that
No, the DLC is cool. Well, I haven't played it, but this is the first time DLC's been in Mario Kart. They would have had to have put something in to do that.
What's so great about battle mode anyway?
Oh, the N64 one could be pretty fun. Like, especially because the N64 mechanics were a little bit more crazy.
Yeah.
Like, green shells lasted a lot longer.
Yeah. I think they did better to concentrate on racing. Make it really good. I think they did a pretty good job.
They sort of did.
Right?
It's hard to know where they could... Well, the stuff they added didn't really add to Mario Kart. Oh, excuse me, if you know what I mean, like the anti-grav and the stuff they had for Mario Kart 7, like the flying and the underwater stuff, doesn't really add to the game much.
Not really.
We didn't actually ever mention it. Now that we've come to the end of the normal categories, and I was just looking at my list, even though we said we might mention it in a category, we didn't mention Broken Age being 2 parts that got delayed a million miles apart.
But we knew that was going to happen, didn't we?
Well,
sort of. Maybe not to the extent that it actually ended up happening.
I think we thought that when the first part came out, that the second part wouldn't be too far away.
I liked that first part. It was obviously short.
It's hard to... although we played it this year, I don't know if we can even really include it until it's fully out. You know what I mean?
Well, the episodic games problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the atmosphere of it. But yeah, you don't have to count it.
Yeah, it's just difficult, isn't it? Yes, the second half could be total shit. You don't know.
I hardly doubt it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do doubt it.
I'm not saying it's going to be the best adventure game, but I think it's not bad for what they promised.
I just had a flashback to was it one of the old LucasArts Indiana Jones games where you're trying to reason with a parrot or something, and if you say the wrong answer or something it doesn't like, it just goes a pile of poo.
I want to know what happens. Because you've got to the end of Broken Age, right? No spoilers or anything, but it ends, right? Something happens at the end.
It's Game of the Year cast. You may need to spoil away.
No, I'm just saying, if in the Vela part towards the end, in the final area when you're at the bottom,
I haven't played it.
Okay, who has played it? Neither
just
you played it.
Just you.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I can't ask then. I thought you guys had played it.
Nope.
It's only really it's not very long. Okay.
No, was it 4 hours or something? But...
it's a bit longer than that.
Oh,
well,
okay.
It depends how long it takes you to figure out the puzzles. Probably not that long if you're not dumb. I did misplace something. or didn't manage to find something for ages. So
I just noticed we didn't have categories this year, or I didn't write notes about categories for things we've had in the past, like best moment and stuff like that.
Best story.
Well, that's true, but I'm not sure. It doesn't feel like it's been one of those years really. There's been a total standout story, I guess, other than maybe, I don't know, does PT count for that? Or
it's not really a story.
No, it's more an experience.
How about
maybe that's the problem.
Experience.
This year, there's been no good story stuff. Maybe Shadow Mordor is okay.
How about most dumb twist or most dumb story integration of a twist was clearly Bravely Default. For it's like,
oh yes, the menu
we literally know what we're doing is going to fuck everything up, but let's keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, and the coolest thing about that was the fairy lies thing.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's clever. Because what was it normally? Like that
something
text?
The fairy flies.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And the fairy's name is Airy, so they cut off the F in that, where it's Airy lies. That's what it was.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah.
They were fancy. Although evidently that's just... I wonder what that was like in Japanese, because having the fairy called Airy is a bit of a weak kind of way to make that work.
I bet that was probably the only thing that naming was based on, so they could do that trick in that screen. Because
I'm sure in Japanese, when you remove one of the symbols, it totally alters the whole meaning of the entire word.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's like all the different Tom Riddle names in all the different languages.
Oh yeah.
And all the Harry Potter translations.
Oh yes, of course.
To make a stupid anagram. Yeah.
That was dumb. Duh.
I don't know, it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Well, I haven't really got any standout, I suppose, narrative moments, I guess.
Not a good year for epic stories.
Oh, the twist in Child of Light was kind of cool, actually. There's a twist halfway through the story where it's you could, I suppose in some aspect I should have seen it coming, but I sort of didn't. And when it, spoiler alert, I suppose, I won't go into too much detail, but a playable character essentially turns on you and becomes non-playable from that moment and becomes an enemy. And it's just oh, seriously? All that leveling I did for you, and you're one of my favourite characters to actually fight with. Well, fuck you then. That was pretty cool.
I guess in talking about other story things that were not so cool, people seem to be... There's two different aspects of Transistor that people complain about which were related to the story. And the first one is the sort of bosses being not very consequential to the actual story. Which I also don't kind of want to spoil because you're about to all play this, but...
Yep.
But, so, yeah, there's the problem of the story not being very well, it's one of those stories where it's not trying to tell you everything, it's just trying to be sort of vague, and you put it together in your own way. I mean, there is quite a lot of sort of semi-explained stuff about the world that you can find out. But then, so the bosses are sort of inconsequential, and ultimately, the thing that people think is good that I don't, if you turn this around, is right at the end, there's a bit where the mechanics flip, and you're and everyone was super obsessed with that, and I was just sort of fairly obvious thing to do, really.
It's a little bit like the brothers sort of trick, where even though the other brother isn't there, you're sort of doing what he can do with his controls, and
kind of, except it's not really in your control. It's more of an enemy thing, I guess.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I think I can guess what you're saying. But yeah,
probably.
That kind of, I can see what you mean. That kind of makes sense that if that's what I think it is, that kind of makes sense that would happen eventually.
Because people seemed to be super enthusiastic about that, but I wasn't particularly impressed. And also, the end of that game, in terms of the final boss fight or whatever, is not particularly, because you've just got so many options at that point. You've by that point of going through the game, you've already experimented with everything, found your perfect combo that makes you incredibly uber. So by the time you're at the last boss, it's just it's just another fight, really.
I sort of felt that about, well, I don't know, maybe it's something about that studio, or was it Supergiant or something, where they just, I don't know, I felt the ending for Bastion was quite anticlimactic as well. Because it just ends pretty much.
I don't really
It's
remember.
like the journey's real nice, but like just the ending is a bit like sudden.
I don't really remember what actually happens at the end of Transistor. It's like I remember up to the last boss fight, but then I don't remember. I think it was quite a quick like end sequence or whatever actually happened, which is, again was like another element of the story not being so elaborate. It was just like, oh, we're done. Wrap it all up, start over.
You might have a little rubbism there, actually.
Really?
Potentially. Yeah, anticlimactic. It's like destroying the weather.
It's anticlimactic.
Oh, it's anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's close enough.
If it was written down, I'd know what I meant.
Yeah. Oh, we know what you meant.
Yeah.
I just thought
Climatic.
I just like the idea of anticlimactic.
Anticlimactic, yeah, that's pretty cool. With the I'm going to stop all the weather. It's just going to be bland. Forever bland.
Yeah,
All crops will die.
That's sort of what happens in Transistor as well.
Bland.
Surprisingly.
The bland.
Anticlimactic and anticlimactic.
Anticlimactic, yeah.
The blandening.
Okay then, that's that. I guess we're done with this conversation. Let's Game of the Year it.
Game of the Year. Well, this is going to be really interesting because
Is it? Are you sure about that?
in the
I'm not sure.
no. I mean, it's going to be real stupid.
Okay.
It's going to be dumb.
Because none of us have played the same games this year,
Doesn't matter.
apart from a select few. I mean, that's true most years, but it's more so this year. There's nothing we can really necessarily agree on or easily.
No.
So this may end up being personal lists, I suppose.
Can't do it. We have to choose one.
I have to choose one. Yeah,
There can only be one. It's like
there can only
Highlander.
be one. So I suppose my picks for this are in flux. So I've got like 4 listed here, but I'm rethinking them all the time. So Bayonetta 2 is right up there for me because it's a phenomenally fun game. That basically bests its predecessor in practically every way, other than the fact that I don't think it goes quite as balls out crazy as the original did towards the end. And of course, coming right off the back of playing the original, I was expecting great things, like ridiculous things, and I didn't quite get there compared to Bayonetta 1, but it's still a hell of a game. Mechanically, brilliant. Even if you do have to hear, huh, ha, huh, get out, fuck off, all the time.
Sure.
Much more forgiving than the original as well. I put Plants vs. Zombies on here because, man, damn, that's a game. Don't underestimate the quality of that as a multiplayer experience. It's a proper game.
So who made that podcast?
Apparently, yeah. They must have had a lot of help from DICE, though.
You'd think so.
Yeah, probably.
Because, it's running Frostbite. It's a looker. I think it's a really good looking game. It's not pushing any boundaries per se, but it's like they use what the Frostbite engine is capable of really well. Like using neat lighting effects. The texture detail is really high.
Look at the texture detail.
Yeah, and the way it's sort of like it's strange in that some of the best moments, like visually, of that game are when you're dead and the camera is vertically above you and it's just looking at the floor and you can actually get a chance to see the detail that's on the floor and you're like, alright, okay, this is pretty impressive stuff here. And it never slows down, it never has frame rate issues. It's a great bloody game. And it's just like, I really like the multiplayer structure, like the Gardens and Graveyards as a game mode is great. It's a bit like the attack and defend style, I guess, in assault mode from UT in a way, I suppose. And in TF2, there's one team just trying to stop the other team from pushing, and if they could push the last point, then the game's over, and the pushing team wins. But if they manage to defend at any phase for long enough, then the defending team wins.
It's just Rush.
Yes, that's probably a better.
Stolen straight from Battlefield.
Yeah, that's probably a
what
better.
DICE did again.
It's probably a better comparison. But instead of like the bomb system that Rush has, it's an ever decreasing health bar that just goes down as long as there's more zombies than plants in the zone. But the other thing to consider with that as an entry is just how much support that game has got since it's come out. It's like no game in recent memory has added so much to itself for free since it launched. It's like it launched as a cheap product, it didn't launch at full price. partly because, you know, I think it would be a bit cheeky to have done given the amount of content that was in it when it launched. But since then, they've added like 3 or 4. They've added a couple of Guns of Graveyards maps, another 3 or 4 Team Deathmatch map, which like 3 game modes or something. New enemies to fight against in the solo horde mode. Well, not the solo, but the horde mode gameplay. A shit ton of new accessories and stuff to equip to your characters in the insanely addictive random loot card opening system, which you never get duplicates for and stuff. So it's always new stuff.
Sweet.
It's a really well made game. Like, and I think it's because it's Plants vs Zombies and because it's perhaps been written off unfairly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will shout its corner all day long, but I'm unsure whether it's as good as Bayonetta 2, though. If I was to put those two head to head, I'm really not sure.
You might have to in a minute.
Yeah. So I put Titanfall on here because I've had more fun with it than Call of Duty, I think, overall.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of groundbreaking and new, I think, is why I like it so much. Because like there is something about,
at least it's shaken up the Call of Duty situation a bit.
There is something about getting into a giant mech and having a mech fight in the middle of a foot fight. You know, it's all that stuff. The way it all integrates is pretty nice. It's original and stuff. Sure, we would have wanted more from it. Like there just isn't enough stuff in that game. Like the unlock tree and loadout stuff just isn't as fully featured as something like Call of Duty, and so feels a bit lacking. In that sense, but it was a new experience, and when that beta weekend happened, that was all I could do for that entire weekend was just play Titanfall. I was totally hooked. It's a shame that I think I got most of it out of my system during that beta weekend.
Right.
I didn't quite get into it quite so heavily when the actual game came out. But the DLC's been really good. I've got all the maps for that as well, and they're all pretty, well, you know, for the most part, pretty good quality stuff as well. Definitely definitely extends the life of the game. But I did have a ton of connectivity issues, and I think it's just me. Like after a certain, well, not just me, I suppose, but after a reasonable amount of research on the issue, it does seem to be something about certain routers just have a real problem with the traffic it generates, and that's not really. I don't know if I could really blame EA and Respawn for that.
Definitely.
I'm not the only one, but I don't know what to do about it, and it doesn't feel like there's anything I can do about it, so it's a bit unfortunate. And of course, it wouldn't be a year with a Smash Bros. Release if I didn't at least put Smash Bros. On the list, because it's still Smash Bros. I may say it's not as good. It might not be as good as Brawl in my heart, but it's still Smash Bros. Hard to really add to it than that. And HD is cool. Smash Bros. In HD is cool.
I still feel like maybe that hasn't helped it as much as we thought it would.
No, I'm with you there.
I think maybe like once they got into more fancier graphics, they actually added too much graphics. Yeah, they just added too much like explosions and effects, which makes it actually hard to track your character for a different reason.
Yeah,
rather than the being too small, and not being able to make it out. It's like I can't make it out because there's all this other stuff.
I think the sparks have got bigger. Like when things get hit, like smash moves and stuff. There's like these purple and red and black like lightning bolts that come out horizontally from the impact and stuff. But they're pretty massive. Yeah. It's there's a lot. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot more visual stuff going on, and some of the backgrounds are a lot more busy because they can do more stuff in the background.
And they also made the actual mistake of like once they went to HD, so you can see everyone easier. They just made really, really giant maps, so the camera can zoom out even further, so you can't see yourself.
And actually, those are the weakest elements of the game. I think the large levels don't work so great. Oh, actually, annoyingly, when they've tried to experiment in the new Smash Bros. Is where it sort of falls down. Like, in previous editions, they've been sort of at least interesting to some capacity. Like, but in this, they just don't work, if you ask me. Like, that Kirby stage you can't really get launched off. but it's got magma that if you hit twice, you just insta-die. It's like, that's a terrible fucking level.
Yeah, it's weird.
It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not what that game's about.
It's like they should have stuck to the idea of just having, like, basically 4 platforms with different themes to them, because it's like that was what the original. That's what most of the original and goodish levels are sort of like. It's like even the ones that are kind of weirder, like the Earthbound level where you have the street and the car.
Oh, yeah, that level's fun.
Like that's still basically just 4 platforms.
Yeah. The one experiment I really do like is that DK level with the foreground and background.
I don't know, that just makes it really hard to actually fight, because like half the people are in the background and half the people are in the foreground. You keep jumping backwards and forwards between them constantly.
It's not a true competitive stage, but it's fun.
Quite confusing.
I thought it was real funny. And there are a few levels that are just unbelievably massive.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. And sometimes events can happen that forcibly zoom the camera out and stuff so you can see what's happening, and it just makes everything so tiny.
Yes, that was a mistake. They got more pixels and then they decided to use them in the worst way, making everything smaller.
And as we mentioned earlier, they removed more of the solo stuff, which I think was a bad idea. Because, it feels like less of a celebration of video games and stuff compared to the previous ones. That's kind of what Smash is all about, isn't it? It's the ultimate nostalgia trip in a way for Nintendo.
Well, especially after they actually decided to bring in more weird characters, even though they got rid of some. It's like, no Snake. That was funny.
Snake was a really interesting character in Brawl, because he was practically impossible to use well.
Well, maybe. It was just different.
Yeah. It was interesting that it was different. And in fairness, they have done interesting new things with the new characters. I'm not sure I'm totally like them, but at least they're there, I guess.
But the trouble is that they start... It's like Snake is interesting, but he's not actually different, really, from how they're actually... Because once they started moving into, like, you have Little Mac and his weird KO meter, and you have Rosalina where she's like icons, except you can actually control the upper half.
Rosalina's fine. Yeah.
Rosalina's probably the best of those sort of ones. But once they started delving into like actual mechanics that are totally different from just the actual way the game works, that's where it started becoming problematic, I think.
Because Mega Man throws me.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's like, not because I think he handles badly, but he's just different enough that it confuses my little brain.
Well, it's because it's like he doesn't really control the same... It's not like the 4 directions of Smash Move and then the 4 directions of Special.
Because he can run and shoot and...
Yeah. So, like, I think that's a little too much. It's the same as the stages, really.
Well, yeah,
it's like once they start deviating too much from how it actually just simply works as a game.
Oh, yeah, thinking about it, the stage... I don't think the stage bosses was a good idea.
No, that is also terrible.
I mean, the Mega Man one's okay, but the one with Ridley is friggin' terrible.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad if it didn't still count as player kills when you die from it, because it's like the last person that hit you.
Yeah, I mean, the way it figures that stuff out is still pretty dodgy, isn't it? Like, the last hit mechanics have never been that great in terms of point scoring.
Well, but it's fine if there's not a random thing in the level that kills you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we used to complain, like, back in the day about the stages that move being the least fun, and that's the least of the problems now.
Yeah.
The moving stages are actually still alright.
Well, I don't think they really have moving as bad moving stages, because like the poker floats in the old game, that was it wasn't a moving stage as such. It was more like vanishing platforms.
Yeah,
because really
the
screen doesn't really move as such, as things just keep coming in and out of frame.
And there are a few levels that still do that, like platforms will in the new Pokemon level, platforms will come down from the ceiling on pulleys sometimes, and they'll just suddenly lift off the top. And you get taken with them, and it's like, oh, cock! I didn't see that coming. So they haven't learned every lesson, but I suppose that's why they introduced the Omega mode, just to say, if you hate all this stuff, here's a flat plane.
Yeah, but the Omega mode is too far. Then it is just a flat plane with nothing actually, like, no entertaining parts to it.
Yeah. And there are other little things as well. Like the stage creator, I don't think is good as the previous one. Yeah, it's cool. You can paint freehand stages, but it's so much. There's too much other stuff that's missing compared to Brawl.
Yeah.
So while it will inevitably be the one we end up playing moving forward,
Because we can't be bothered to deal with
The Wii.
going into the Wii.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure it's been a step forward for the series as a whole. Although a lot of people say if you've ever managed to rig up an actual 8-player Smash game, it's the best thing ever.
I don't know about that. It's like 8 seems like too many. It's already hard enough to see where the fuck you are.
Yeah. Imagine if you had that on PC and you could run it at an arbitrary resolution. Then you run it at 4K or whatever on a huge screen or something. You could like be playing like little highly detailed mini matches in like tiny corners of the screen. You'd have to run around as well. You'd have wireless controllers. You'd be running around underneath the cinema screen going, what the fuck?
Where did I go?
Yeah.
I've gone into the bottom right hand of the corner of the map. Somewhere. That's like that when there's that weird web game which is just like Infinite Bomberman.
Right.
Where it's just like an Infinite Bomberman level where it's just infinitely multiplayer. Like every time someone loads up the game it just spawns them in somewhere.
Oh wow. Oh, that's kind of clever.
Kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because, Bomberman isn't that much of an actual game. And when there's about 20 Bombermen all blowing shit up in the same vicinity, chaos.
I don't know.
Not actually playable.
Atomic Bomberman was pretty fun, man.
No, well, that was chaos in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be me, really.
So, what are your candidates?
Honorary mentions. I really liked Super Time Force this year. I thought that was a quality game. And I'm not 100% sure if this should count, really, but Towerfall Ascension is amazing. It's one of the most fun experiences I've had all year. And the reason why I'm not sure it should count is because the original version of Towerfall was a 2013 game, and it's only the Ascension version that came out this year.
How much different is it?
It adds more solo stuff and a few more mechanics and stages.
More solo stuff, like the bit that no one cares about.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And there are a few more levels and a few more like special weapons and stuff added to it, but it's essentially the same game. So yeah, I'm a bit reticent to include it. I mean, other places have, but our rules, I suppose. But special mention to it regardless. Like even if we don't consider it, it's a hell of a game.
Right.
Over to you, Ziggle.
Well, I mean, there's Transistor, obviously, just because it's more for how it looks. Well, I mean, it's not like the game's bad. It's still a good game to play.
I mean, I kind of like the concepts and
like
Transistor, like the way you're combining functions and the way the terminology of it all is.
Well, you like that just because of programming.
Yeah, I think it's a clever use of it. It's not. It's close enough.
Not actually, though, really, is it? It's just like, here's a word and we've stuck 2 brackets on the end of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
The crash function. But it's the way you combine them and stuff.
Yeah, the actual mechanics of the game, that's good.
Although you had some concerns about how some of the pause stuff actually plays out in actuality, how stuff sort of moves while your pause actions actually happen.
Well, I mean, it's not so bad once you get used to it, and there are occasional things where you actually have to realise what's happening, like the enemies that teleport away when you hit them. Because then if you've queued up more than one hit on them, only the first one will land, because then they will have teleported away immediately after you hit them the first time.
Mm.
So there's stuff like that where you have to sort of realise what's happening. And it does sort of make some of the skills more or less useful. I guess it's sort of a thing that you don't really think about after you've decided not to. That's what I'd say. Because it's like, once you've worked out where, like, if I hit this enemy multiple times, maybe only the first one will actually connect because they will have bounced slightly out of where I was aiming.
Oh, I see.
So you just don't do that any longer.
Yeah.
Whereas, that's, in some ways, that could sort of infer other tactics, like only use that move as an opener. Because it's like, if you know the enemy's only going to be there for that first shot, then line up something else that you can maybe aim in a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not too bad once you get used to it. Or you just use the error attacks. Problem solved.
Yeah.
As long as they're vaguely next to me, that's it.
I was trying to remember, is there a way of Like, do you have to use the whole turn, or can you partially use it and then have...
Yeah, you can partially use it if you want.
And then move and have most of your turn. Like, does it any penalty for any using partial turns? Or...
No, I think it's just... it charges up faster, presumably, if you don't use it all.
Oh, okay.
I would assume. I guess I didn't... Because the way I was playing it was... Because I was just using the jaunt dash...
Run away, basically.
I was basically initiating combat from a long way away from the enemies, maybe jaunting like twice to get to them, doing some moves, and then using 2 jaunts to get back to where I started, basically. So I was never actually moving into close range of the enemy, so I always had enough distance between them after my turn was done for it to recharge. That was how I dealt with that problem. Don't actually engage at point blank.
No, it's noteworthy just because the mechanical systems ignited enough discussion, like not just between us, but like on the internet as a whole, because they're just interesting. It's like it seems new, in design.
Yeah, and like
just kind of rare for a strategy game, and I suppose
it's a proper combination system where every combination is actually possible.
Yeah,
which makes a change. So there was that.
There aren't any disallowed combinations.
Well, I mean, you can't put 2 of the same thing on something, but that's not
sure.
Really...
Yeah,
that wouldn't make any difference. There's that. I guess sort of maybe the 3DS stuff, like Theatre Rhythm and Bravely Default. I mean, they were good.
I feel like Bravely Default might be a candidate.
Well, I don't know. That end game sounds pretty hideously flawed.
Yeah.
Like, the whole repeating worlds thing, that just sounds like a right cop-out to pad it considerably.
I mean, if you're actually doing the side bosses rather than the main... Because if you just do the main bosses and you just go straight to the end of the story, that wouldn't take any time at all. But the side bosses are what makes it interesting, because the way they mix up the pairings or whatever, or the groupings of bosses. So you have to employ different tactics. So it's like they had that idea, but then they didn't have an idea to make the story last that long. It's like those would have been good if they'd also had... If you didn't just have to... You aren't really doing anything else apart from just going to there and fighting them. Because there's no actual other stuff happening. There's no more story at that point, basically. Apart from when you go through each of the, initial bits of each of the worlds where it's like, oh, look, this world is the same as before. Now let's go to the place and fuck it all up again. And then you just go and do the side bosses, which is the actually interesting part. So yeah, it seems like they sort of... maybe they...
Wasn't it like you needed to do all the side bosses to get the secret ending or something? Or
well, to get the proper good ending.
The proper ending. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you do need to do all of them to get the proper ending. I can't remember. I looked it up at some point. But yeah, it's like... Sort of the idea of having the repeating worlds and like the worlds are very slightly different or whatever. That is a sort of story excuse for them to be able to mix up the pairings of the bosses and just have like different people be in different places. But it's just like it can't have been intentional. It can't have been a deliberate solution to that problem. Like I wouldn't have thought that they were just like, oh, it would be cool if we could pair these bosses up differently, but there's no story reason for that to happen. Well, let's make up a really dumb reason. This must just have been coincidental that it was convenient that it excused that happening.
But don't they have like the sort of town-based sort of challenge-y stuff that they could have just put that stuff in? Or
not really. I mean, they could have just like had it be in literal challenge mode, essentially. Just like separated out into the menu or like the town rebuilding screen and just have like a challenge bar or something where you go into the pub and fight random people you've met through the story.
Well, yeah, a bit like the old Final Fantasy thing where you find a dungeon somewhere that just happens to have like fights set up for you.
Yeah, I mean they could have done something like that.
But something like Lost Odyssey always has, or I say always has. It had it that one time.
The one Lost Odyssey game exists. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like... I mean, the bit of story that is like the repeating of the worlds over and over, they would have had to have done it, probably more than once for that to have any particular impact. It's like once it's just weird, twice you're like, oh, shit. Something's going on, and then you find out what's going on with the fairy or whatever, but then there's 2 more after that where you just continue to do it, and it's like, that's maybe a bit much.
Right, so if they just pitched it slightly less.
Yeah. or like done it in a faster way, where they done it in a story sequence or something, where you didn't actually have to go and fight all 4 of the shitty bosses that were actually really easy by this point.
Right.
So yeah, that had some problems at the end, but it was pretty good. And then, Theatre Rhythm is just a solid thing.
Well, yeah. Is it worth counting? Because it's not really different from the previous Theatre Rhythms, is it? Other than...
It's got a lot more content. And I mean that, aside from the actually just being more songs, it's actually more of a, game to it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, I don't know. I thought there was something else, but I've forgotten what it was again, and even though I'm looking at my list, it's like I didn't really have much from this year.
Not so up on Civ?
No, that was not actually great. It fell short in a lot of ways.
A lot of people have been saying that, if you want your 4X, strategy gameplay, that you should go to Endless Legend.
Yeah,
which I
supposedly.
didn't notice. That one passed me by completely.
Well, it seems like it's sort of not as good as everyone obsessing about it says it is.
Barlow seems to like Europa Universalis, of course.
Yes, so I hear.
And he's not the only one, I think. Oh no, maybe.
But that's more of a that's sort of in a different. It's supposedly Endless Legend might not be as complicated as it seems, and sort of in the classic problem of Civ games, and the main problem with those is always the AI. Because if the AI is not good enough, it becomes either really simple to exploit, or they get to the point where they just give the AI unnecessary bonuses to counteract for the fact the AI isn't actually clever.
I'll tell you what, there's one game I've been thinking that maybe actually you might like, Zach, that we missed. And that would have been Divinity.
Yeah.
Simply because of the impressiveness of how open that RPG world sounds. It's entirely possible for you to kill most NPCs in the game, and then the game will bend to you doing that.
Yeah, they did that in Fallout 3.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? It's not something you see from that style of RPG very frequently. It's
yeah, but the question with that, as always, as it was in Fallout 3, is just
is it worth it?
Well, does it matter? It's is it just that here's a different generic guy giving you this mission, rather than the generic guy who would have been here?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's stuff like that though. From what that game positioned itself as being, and from what people have been talking about it sounds like the number of options you are given with how you can manipulate that world are abundant. Abundant. Plentiful options. Such plentiful organs.
Yeah, I think that's all I can think of, really.
So what's your top... What do you like best of the ones you've posited?
Yeah, compare your own list.
Well, I think Transistor is obviously the best, just because of it being it's a combination of those mechanics and the art that makes it stand out. Because Bravely Default has good art, but it's still a 3DS game.
Yeah.
But that's more about the actual mechanics.
Yeah.
Like the building of your team and the changing of jobs and everything.
I gotta admit, there sounds like a lot more to Bravely Default from that sort of, but not too much in a sort of Final Fantasy Tactics sort of way. It seems like there's a lot of grind though. Is my worry.
Well, I don't know, because if you think about Final Fantasy Tactics, in order to unlock the actual skills, it's like you had the job system, but you just unlock the skills on the jobs took fucking forever.
Yeah.
It's I wouldn't say it's more grind necessarily in Bravely Default, and I think Bravely Default's job system is not as not as...
There aren't so many jobs.
I don't know if there are as many, but I don't think each of the individual job has as many useful skills, and also you can only... It's in Bravely Default you only have your primary and your secondary, whereas in various different versions of Final Fantasy Tactics you could just pull skills from wherever you want in some cases. As well, you had your primary and secondary in original Final Fantasy Tactics, but sometimes that was different. And in the Final Fantasy version of the job system, sometimes it was dependent on weapons and stuff, whereas in Bravely Default it's not really. It's just you have a weapon, unless it's a bow. Maybe that's the only one that has any significant difference. So I think the Final Fantasy version of that job system is definitely more,
robust.
Yeah, more robust and complicated. but I still think the Brave Default one is solid.
I think my problem with something, or at least from how you approached Bravely Default, is it makes me wonder if someone like me, who doesn't necessarily get into the grind on games like that, and want a little bit more story pacing, whether I'll find it enjoyable, or if there's just too much of the grind.
Well, I don't think there was actually that much grind until I got to the end game. Like when I was trying to do the hard secondary, optional bosses.
Okay.
So
there weren't any moments where you felt underleveled compared to the boss?
No, I don't think there really was. Well, I mean, there was...
Other than needing to work out the tactic.
Yeah, other than maybe... Well, maybe surprisingly, maybe the very early, maybe the first one or two of those bosses, I think I needed to grind up a little bit to make sure I was up there, even after I worked out the tactics. But
I suppose that's the interest. That's the thing in its favour, I suppose. Is it's been a while since I've heard of an RPG that actually forces you to
change what you're doing.
Treat it like a puzzle.
Yeah. Rather than just going with what's been working.
Yeah, just attack. Just use the attack button.
Yep. Just use the attack button. So yeah, that was pretty good. But I think I like Transistor better overall.
Cool.
I mean, does Transistor do that in any ways? The puzzly sort of make, there are situations you have to tackle slightly differently, or...
Sort of. I mean, it maybe doesn't even happen in the first playthrough. It might only really start happening in the second playthrough, where the enemies get more upgraded, because then they start getting things that are actual sort of countermeasures to what you're doing. One of the enemies gets, I think one of the enemies in fact gets two of them. Where there's one where when they move, they leave a trail of sort of landmines behind them, which slow you down if you run through them. But then they also get their actual attack will knock you out of turn mode.
Oh, right.
So you can't use your turn to, not really. It will knock you out of it. It'll also freeze you out of it for a second or two.
Oh, like a stun.
Yeah, so it's like a stun. So they get actual countermeasures, and that makes things slightly more complicated. And obviously, in that game, there's also the literal challenge rooms.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So there's those to do. Not very many of those, but they were quite tricky in the end, some of them. Although, obviously, the more fun ones I think they maybe could have used it somehow in the story to make it so you didn't just rely on what you were doing in the sort of Brave Default way, but there's the challenge rooms where you start off with no skills, and then it randomly assigns you a selection over each of the rounds. And that actually makes it more interesting, because then it's maybe you've already used all the combos already, but now it's working with what you've got. So it's I don't have my dash because I haven't randomly been given it for the first 2 or 3 rounds, so I'm having to work around not being as maneuverable or whatever. But that's just in the challenge rooms. I feel like they could have put that into the game somehow. Some kind of corruption or something. Especially because that practically happens in the story, only it doesn't actually affect your combat capabilities.
So, Dan, where are you sitting right now?
In the middle.
Other than
sit in the middle.
Yeah. Both literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Well, am I moderating between your...
Well, do you have any game at all to nominate for a Game of the Year? Because FTL Advanced Edition doesn't count.
That's all I had. That game was really good. We recommend you play FTL.
FTL is still good.
Well, I think we all do.
Highly recommend it. Very, very good. No, I don't have a game of this year. So, you've got quite disparate picks. We've got Transistor versus...
It's very much our personalities coming through here, isn't it? Zach, strategy man.
Yep.
Versus me, fuck off man.
Yes, clearly. Well, it's not... I think...
I liked both the prequels to both of these games.
I mean, I think Rob will definitely like Transistor, but he liked Bastion as well. Yeah. And I think I probably would like Bayonetta, although that's not generally been my kind of game in the past. I mean, I haven't ever played any of the Batmans or, that kind of Devil May Cry or whatever.
Or Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah. But I don't think I necessarily wouldn't like it.
Yeah, because I never played those games at all, and yet I really like the Bayonetta 1.
It's just,
and that wasn't as good as Slicker's 2.
It's just for me, I haven't really had as much chance to, I guess, because I haven't had the consoles. And up until recently, there hasn't been there haven't been those kinds of games on the PC as well.
Can Bayonetta 2 just win, just so I can continue to get the disapproving looks from Naomi?
What's bad about that?
I don't think it needs to win.
Perviest game I've ever seen.
It is rather over-sexualised.
But that's the whole point of the first one, was that it was like ludicrously over-sexualised. The fact that her hair turned into what was her catsuit, and then when she performed the stupid...
Well, that still happens.
It was like a comment on how ridiculous all the Japanese video game stuff is, wasn't it? I thought that was the point of it, was that she was super powerful and all the powerful characters were women, weren't they?
But that's the classic argument between like lady sexualization as a lead character, isn't it? That like is it too much? Is it perversion, or is it lady and female empowerment? It's like, and female empowerment obviously means nakedness. I gotta admit, there are sections.
The irony is a bit thin sometimes.
There are sections, that, especially at the start of Bayonetta 2, where perhaps they lay that on a little thick.
Well, at least Transistor's got a female lead.
Yep, that's convenient.
Not naked, though.
No. Bit more...
Well, she has a fancy dress at some point, and then she just puts a coat over it.
That's cool.
That's pretty much what her costume is. She's wearing a coat.
I feel like Transistor has potential to be like probably one of the more interesting stories as well, arguably, of the whole year, even though there weren't anything.
Yeah, probably.
Anything else.
Although it is
Child of Light, as I say, I quite liked that.
Oh, yeah, Child of Light, yeah.
It is a story that you have to interpret yourself in some ways.
Yeah.
Because it's not very explicit.
Yeah. Cool.
Whereas Bayonetta is very explicit. Ho!
Ho!
So you definitely want to put Bayonetta over PvZ, is the question. Doesn't really matter, because I think PvZ might be... Don't know. I think Zach would have probably a better time with Bayonetta than...
I just think...
I don't know about that, because we at PvZ, I think we're more likely to have played...
I just think Plants vs. Zombies is just too much like just being another multiplayer shooter. Even though it's a good one.
It's so unlike everything else.
I don't think it is. It's like you run around and shoot things.
But the way it handles the weaponry isn't, like, standard.
It's like even in the other multiplayer shooters games of this year, the weaponry hasn't been all that standard. Like Titanfall's, the Titan weapons are all quite ridiculous.
Well, true, yeah.
And like, I'm sure Call of Duty doesn't have that many amazingly different weapons. But
no, it doesn't. Call of Duty's quite samey. But
at least
it's got the grenades of rocket power or whatever.
Oh, yeah, but they're only really in the
single player.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it seems like Plants vs. Zombies is almost like out of the multiplayer shooters this year, it seems like the most like Call of Duty compared to Call of Duty and Titanfall. Like those ones actually suddenly have got like jetpacks and shit.
No,
and then Plants vs. Zombies is still like running around on the ground.
I couldn't agree with that at all. It's like it feels nothing like those games, but it's a more methodical pace than something like COD and Titanfall, which are lightning fast.
Yeah, a bit more TF2 like almost.
Well, PvZ like benefits from actually being big team fights, which neither really COD or especially Titanfall can really claim to be.
Yeah, I mean, we always liked big team fights back in Halo, even though no one else did.
No, it was rare to come across a good session of that. Even rarer now, I guess.
And it's like Battlefield is a different thing, really, because even though that's big teams, it's not just a fight.
Well, everything's so big in Battlefield, like unless you're playing those little rush levels with tons of players.
In which case, it's too small.
Yeah,
there's like not a middle ground in Battlefield. The levels are
especially not Battlefield. Battlefield 4, I think, got it wrong somehow with its level design. None of it feels quite right.
Well, none of the levels are that great.
But yeah,
in general,
game of last year.
But surely Plants vs. Zombies can't be better than Bayonetta. I don't think, anyway.
You're probably right,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure I liked Bayonetta 2 any more than I like PvZ. So, like, on raw feeling. Well, PvZ just was consistently been my go-to game.
That's not necessarily an indication of how good it is, though.
Well, maybe not, but
it's just easy to play.
It's got so much draw. I just want to go to Get some cards, unlock some more cards.
That's not actually a good thing at all.
I want to get some more.
That's like really bad gambling.
I want to get some more bling for my characters. Get a good hat. It's all about the hats.
Yep, it's Team Fortress again.
If you were in that work and pensions committee meeting, you'd be playing Plants vs Zombies.
Yeah. Well, except I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
The tower defense.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Or do we just need to have 2? Action game of the year, Bayonetta 2, and other game of the year.
No. There can only be one.
But we're not going to be able to make a decision.
No. Okay.
I can't settle. But Dad, you have.
No, I can't vote because I haven't played any of them.
Well, I think this is a really bad idea. But here's my idea.
Okay.
We don't bother making a game of the year announcement this podcast. We wait until the next one, and then Rob can play Transistor, and then he can make a decision between Bayonetta 2 and Transistor because he would have played both of them.
What, you mean put it entirely on me?
Yeah.
Pressure. I know, but then anyone listening to this podcast right now is going to be, this is the most anti-climactic.
There we go.
English too. Climactic is kind of awkward to say.
It is. Yeah, it is. There's no denying. Climactic doesn't roll off the tongue the same way as climactic.
Climatic.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be Transistor going into this. I don't know what I thought you would pick, Zach. I thought
Brave
Default would definitely be up there, and I guess it was. So we counted that out in versus Transistor. So that's
we could just do what we do every other year and just go with Smash Brothers.
Every other year,
because that's the game that we've all played, or the most of us have played.
But I hate Smash Brothers. So I don't want to endorse that.
It's the Mass Effect problem. When was it Mass Effect?
Mass Effect 2 won.
Yeah, but that was because we all compromised in the end. I think we all wanted something else.
Well, I wanted Red Dead that year, and you guys overruled me on that. So
yeah,
that was clearly Game of the Year.
Yeah, you're probably right.
No, it's Mass Effect 2.
No, well, that wasn't the same year.
No. Was it?
No, you must have beat me over with Guild Wars 2, which is probably good.
Actually, it might have been that year.
Anyway, this time...
So you don't have any opinion at all, so it's completely useless.
Well, I would rather... the first one I'm going to play are these, but I don't have a Wii U, so I can't play Bayonetta. I don't want to play Plants vs Zombies. And...
Fine, fair enough.
And Transistor. I'm sure Plants vs Zombies is very good. I just don't play very many of those games, and if I did, it'd probably be TF2 or Titanfall at this point. Yeah. But more likely TF2, actually.
God damn it, hurry up and install Titanfall.
I have installed it. I've played it.
So no excuses.
No, I've been playing it. Well, once. I played it once, but I will play it again.
Don't know better.
Got tons of other stuff to play. Got to play Transistor.
Apparently.
Yeah. So, Game of the Year, Hearthstone. Woo! I think that might be the one that's actually going to stick around out of all the games that came out this year. People will be talking about in 10 years' time.
Maybe.
Well, because everything Blizzard hangs around for friggin' ages.
Yeah. Wave of the future.
Clearly that's going to be Smash Brothers that everyone's going to be talking about for years. Because there won't be another one for a long time.
It'll be 5 years until the next one.
Yeah.
But no one talks about Smash Bros, right?
It's like we don't talk about TF2, even though we play it all the same time.
That's true. We've run out of things to say. They don't update it enough to...
Yeah, and they don't update Smash Bros at all. Although this time, I guess they theoretically good.
They might. What with the whole thing about Mewtwo and stuff? Is that a DLC character and all that stuff?
So... Stalemate, is it? I don't think it's possible to compromise.
I don't bloody know how we're going to resolve this
Transistor and Bayonetta 2, unless you can compromise on Bayonetta.
Well, maybe we should just say that...
We can have a joint Game of the Year.
Well, we can have a joint Game of the Year this episode, and then if we come back next podcast and it turns out that you've both played Transistor and you think it's actually really awesome, then maybe we can revise that decision.
Joint winner, then. Bayonetta 2 and Transistor.
Yeah, I think I can accept that.
Coolio.
Game of the Year, well done.
Games of the Year.
Well done, guys.
Oh yeah.
Game of the Year 2014. This was a lot faster this year.
It was a big cop out. Also, there weren't that many good games. So
there's no way to reconcile the parties on that one.
No.
Not until next podcast.
So stay tuned next time for the exciting conclusion of...
Hey guys, do you want to play Bayonetta 2?
I kind of want to play Transistor right now, so...
Oh no, maybe that's the deciding factor.
Hang on, that'll run on my MacBook. Let me just get it out.
Just down and play it live.
Yeah.
We'll just sit here for another 2 hours listening to the sounds of Transistor.
I need a freaking wired Xbox controller because I don't think the wireless dongle thing's going to work with my Mac. Anyway, no.
Yeah,
that's a very good question.
You do definitely need to play it with a controller. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, well, I won't play it.
Mouse controls are not really that great.
No, I'll play it at home on my giganto, ridiculous 1440p monitor.
Does Steam Play sync cross-platform?
I don't remember whether Transistor Cloud saves. I think it does.
Cool.
You might be alright.
It's a bit awkward playing on a laptop with a wired controller, but people do it on the bus.
You can put your laptop on the table in front of us and play it right there,
now.
now.
I don't get the retinas. Not enough retinas.
Speaking of, just to end this podcast with a totally random bit of news again, because I've been sprinkling it in casually through the whole thing. It's not really new news. It's like something I tried that I hadn't tried before.
Old.
While no one was in the house, I tried the Steam in-home streaming to my dad's Mac.
What's that like?
It works fucking amazingly, considering that it's running through that shitty VT router.
And what's the latency like?
Practically non-existent as far as I can tell.
Wow.
It's like I tried running Rogue Legacy and I plugged my Xbox controller into the Mac because I'd already installed the drivers for it. And it's like I couldn't really notice any like delay between my button pushes. So it was fairly impressive.
So what they need to do is now release a Steam streaming app for Xbone.
Yes.
And everyone can be happy.
So you can play your PC games on your TV through your Xbox.
That'd be amazing. Although Microsoft would have none of it, probably. That's the bigger problem.
Yeah.
A bit of me thinks Valve would actually be alright with it, but even if they're trying to push Steam OS at some point, but you'd probably have a harder time getting that past Microsoft, because Microsoft then would like, just buy your games on Steam, don't buy them from Microsoft.
Well, Steam controller's got a sort of D thing going on now, but people keep saying, no, it's got a D-pad, but I think they've just added some
Ridges.
D-ness to the existing
D-ness.
tracky thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A bit like...
Check out my D-ness.
Yeah.
It's like it couldn't all be haptic feedback.
No. Well, they already added a stick, which is a good move, I think. It's looking more conventional now, which is kind of cool. I mean, they only needed one of those.
Well, it's nice to know that they've been... The reversion to the stick actually almost sort of makes you think, okay, at least they have been thinking about this, and perhaps they have come to the conclusion that their new way of controlling doesn't work for everything.
Yeah.
And it's...
I think it'll have two of those. It will retain the owl thing. One of them will have a D ridges on it, but it will otherwise be similar to the right-hand one, I think. The right-hand one will be the main one, and it'll have a stick and buttons, like a traditional controller.
But hopefully we'll actually hear something about that fucking thing this year.
Yep, it's coming along. Cool. Thanks for joining us for our joint winner announcement. Woo! Check back next time to find out what the actual winner was. And thanks for listening to us in 2014, and we'll be with you in 2015. Yes, with another... No, it's not a new season, is it? Until
not until
not until March.
So enjoy the rest of the season.
Quarter 2.
Yeah, and we'll see you next year. Bye!